No sound. That was perfect. Thank you for the subscription. Appreciate you. We are professional podcasters.
So we're live, but not live.
Indirect state with the raid.
Okay.
We're all mimes now.
Yeah. We're muted live.
Yes.
Now I think we're back now.
We'll take that.
I don't think we're muted anymore. Hi.
We're good now. Hi guys.
Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of a meeting of the Messonic Minds. Today, Matt and I are joined by a special guest and Tex. Tex isn't the special guest this time.
Hey, Tex can still be a special guest.
Tex
The fuck?
is always
Still
a
very special.
guest.
Actually, in fairness, I can't say that. They've actually brought me on as kind of like a commonplace on this one. So you know what? I'll shut my mouth.
Look,
Yeah,
You can still be special though. You're just not a guest.
Tex
Yeah,
is
that's
that
true.
guy that lives in the corner of the office. You don't know if he ever goes home. He's just kind of there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's do
accurate.
I also have a red stapler that I can hide?
Yes.
No.
My stapler. Don't touch my stapler.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, our special guest is Fabernator here. You'll see him in the bottom left corner television. Fabernator.
Yo,
Tell
what's
the
up?
people who you are, dude.
What's up, everybody? My name is Fabernator. You can call me Fabes. You can call me Joshua. You can call me, honestly, whatever the frick you want. Happy to be here. Happy to hang out. I stream on Twitch. I play video games, and we chilling. I just did the Packy Chip Challenge a couple days ago, like these boys did. Well, you guys did a couple weeks ago, right?
We did it like a couple months ago. It was like
Oh,
December.
it was a couple months?
Yeah, 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah.
Just did that thing, so took the day off of the stream today because, you know, still recovering. Still the bowels.
I don't think
So-
people realize how hard it is to recover from that.
No, I legitimately was like, I mean, I don't know how far you want me to go into it, but like, dude, you know, you ever have those sessions on the porcelain throne where just clothes start flying off?
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, like,
It's the end.
I was
the end
naked
at
in
that point.
seconds, bro.
The sweats are just picking up here.
I had at my brewery, they got a softball team and they had practice that day, and I said I was going, and it was like 5 minutes before practice, and I just texted my boys and I was just like, listen, I think my quote was, I think I said the battle I said like the battle of the porcelain throne. Wait, no, the battle of the porcelain. I gave it a title. I said, I was like, this has commenced. I will not be at practice today. And I was, it's like 45 minutes. It was, it sucked. It sucked so bad. It sucked.
So
bad.
something interesting is I know that Matt also felt that the next day. But the next day for me, I actually felt almost nothing.
Jake's pain
You
was
never-
very quickly.
Mine was condensed. and
You never
all-
had a porcelain session where
Okay.
your
He didn't.
butthole was literally on fire?
I have.
I was so upset because I was like actively texting him like, this is the worst thing I've ever gone through in my life. He's like,
thinking he
I'm
would have like an
fine.
ally in me.
I'm
But, like,
good.
No, I mean, all of the pain was truly condensed into like post stream when I thought I was going to die. But yeah, no, like the next day, I think maybe there was a couple bad ones, but it really wasn't like I was expecting the worst.
Well, I had 2 chips in me.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's fair.
So there was even more
You had double the pain.
that had to be removed, man.
I think
Yeah.
the problem with me and the reason it was all so condensed is because I spent the like 2 days prior eating the
That
ghost
is
pepper
true.
chips.
Yeah, Jake. Was
Oh, so
munching
you
down on
prepped.
those. Yeah,
I tried.
I tried.
The hottest-
but no,
Go
there's
ahead.
no way. There's no
The
way.
hottest thing I ate in the last like 6 months is like Asian zing, like at Buffalo Wild Wings. Like
Buffalo
I didn't prep at all, dude. Like there
So
was
you
no
just
prep.
destroyed yourself.
I
really.
like we were like 5 minutes, like not even like we were like 30 seconds away from about to eat the chip, and I just remember sitting there and just like I just didn't know if I had what it took. Like I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like I just don't. I don't know. I just don't know. And next thing I know, it was in my mouth, and I'm looking at. I would have never done it if it wasn't for the 3 dudes that did it with me. Like they're freaking champions.
So did the
Hell
smell?
yeah.
Did the smell deter you at all?
No.
Really?
no.
I opened the thing up, and like so we had planned out before to like get everything like once the gloves were on, everything was like move quick. The second that we opened them all up, like we were all ready to go, and we did a little cheers and then freaking went at it, and then it was just like quiet.
That was the problem. Is we
Everybody was chewing. It was just
we
Yeah.
smelled, we sniffed, and it did not smell good.
yeah.
we smelled and stuff. That doesn't sound like how you prep to eat something.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
it was. Yeah, it was.
Well, it's not
It
a
didn't
good thing.
taste good at all.
Oh No,
No,
well,
it
and
tastes
like,
At all.
awful,
It
dude.
tasted disgusting.
and I don't think a lot of people realize, but like when you put that in your mouth, it instantly just absorbs all of your saliva, and then there's just dry.
Well, yeah, and then
Game?
because so Jay was having a really hard time like swallowing it, and my
it's
main
Yeah, I
thing,
saw that.
yeah, my main thing was just like, freaking, I got it once I got it in my mouth. I was just like, my body was refusing. I don't even know how. I was just like so focused on just like get it down, like just get it down, and then you can just deal with everything else. Because I felt like the longer you kept it in your mouth, the worse it got.
Yeah.
That was me too. Like my number one goal when I took the bite was like I got to swallow this as fast as humanly possible.
Was your
Otherwise, I may
chip
not be able
broken?
to.
Yes, our chips.
Oh
were-
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
they're-
I'm so glad it was broken. Like,
Yeah.
like because I didn't want to get any on like my lips or on the outside of my mouth. So like, I opened my packet over the trash can and it was like kind of open. And I had by the way, I had the opportunity. There was like a small corner that was like still in the bag, and in my mind, I'm like, nobody would see me. Like nobody would see me drop this off. But my integrity, I was like, frick, man. I just grabbed it and I was like, oh shoot.
integrity.
I was like, I gotta do it, man. I gotta do it.
I just realized we should have made Tex do it with us. I don't know why we didn't do that.
Because I wasn't really a
Just-
big
Yeah,
component of that
He,
stuff.
he,
and
wasn't,
I-
he wasn't a streamer yet.
Just one day, he just receives one in the mail.
Your time has come.
I'll just bury it in the ground and see if I can grow like a flaming hot like tree. But so hearing these experiences, let me ask: are you guys familiar with the sugarless gummy bear like fiasco?
Yes.
The like super hot gummy bear.
No,
Oh,
it's not a
oh.
spicy gummy bear. It's the like infamous like I'll call them out. They're Haribo sugarless gummy bears, and the reviews you could get on Amazon, because this is what this sounds like to me. Which those I've tried.
You tried
And
those?
Yes,
Didn't they have like some chemical in them that like made you sick to your stomach?
it wasn't that it wasn't the chemical that they had was a diuretic, but when they mean diuretic, I mean it's like you wanted to learn how to self-propel yourself off the toilet.
Yeah, dude.
You could do it with those. It's just like you would hover off. It was so
It's called
bad.
the
It's
poop
like
pack, dude.
Harry Bill
practically. So when I'm hearing this, that's all I think about. It's like, ow, my ass.
Legion
That's
over.
fair.
I don't think we'll ever do it again. I don't think.
No, I don't think I'm
don't
gonna
think
do
you
it.
should ever do it again.
It was like the only reason it was worth it was, I mean, I'm gonna be 100% honest. Like one reason it was worth it is because like all the people that were around, it was like fun memories, sure, but that would have never happened if it wasn't for two things. One, I freaking love my community and I had thrown it down and I said I'd do it. And two, I made some money. I would have never done it. I would have never done it. Like ever. Like that was the whole reason. The second, like when the neighborhood first hit me with like yo, you should eat that. We had 4 extra. We originally had 6 people doing it and 2 people backed out night of. So now we have 4 people doing it with 4 extra chips. I didn't put that together. So we had them all like propped up on the back of the scene and people saw it, and we finished the first chip. We were still in the aftermath, but like it had cooled down a little bit. And somebody, like, once one person hit it, was like, hey, $100, I'm do another chip. And I'm like, no way. Like I legitimately was like, $100 is not even slightly worth it. Like there's no way I'm doing it. Like you can't buy me. And then $200, I was like, no, dude, I like, you just can't. And then 50 subs. And I was like, all right, let's do it. But like, I just, there's no way I do it without getting some money. It sucked. I legitimately, there was a moment where like my throat was, you could just feel it. Your tongue, your throat, everything was swelling up. It felt like you got stung by a scorpion on your tongue. It sucked.
Yeah.
Welcome to a meeting of the Messonic masochists. we just like the taste of burning. So question then, the last dab of hot sauce, the new one that they came out with, is 2.5 Scoville. Would you do it?
Oh boy.
2.5 million.
2.5 million Scoville?
So here's my thought on like I might, again, if it's around a proper event in which I'm making some money,
So you're saying you can be bought.
entertainment. I don't want to say that I can be bought, but I would put eating hot things into the category of I don't want to do it, but if people, which I know the neighborhood, my community loves watching me suffer, so I know we've got there's some very sick people in there that love watching me go through pain. So I would put it in like this category where it's like, you know, I could leave it as like a bait out here at some number amount. Be like, hey, and just wait for somebody to be like, oh, you know what, screw it. But
500 subs, and I'll do it.
Because it's win-win. It's win-win at that point. Well, this original one was 600 subs, so we had to get to 600 subs during the subathon to get to the spicy stream. So
damn, that's
like,
a hell of a fucking stream.
Yeah, well, it wasn't one stream.
subs.
We ended up I did a subathon, and then I ended up doing like a month long. I streamed every single day in the month of March, so I streamed every day, no days off.
Right.
And so we kept the neighbor, like I was only gonna do one day, and everybody was like, hey, like let's do it for the whole month. I'm like, well, okay.
All right then.
There
It
goes my
ended up being
social
amazing.
life.
They were so generous with me, and it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, dude, it seems like.
Yeah.
Freaking, oh man, I don't know. I think that's obviously the only reason we did it was
Yeah.
money.
Well, we our goal was 75, and we were like, oh yeah, that seems reasonable.
75.
But now
seems
I look
reasonable
back
for
at
this
it, and I'm
chip
like,
that's gonna
that
kill me.
wasn't reasonable enough.
That wasn't reasonable. It's pain, dude.
Well, you guys are at 100.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, that's the
One
thing.
thing too about the last dab, I wonder if the last dab is hotter despite it being Scoville units hotter.
I've had it.
Yeah.
I'll
You
say
had
this.
the last dab or their Apollo one? Because the Apollo one's that's 2.5.
So I've had
Because
the
my
last
thought on the
dab.
chip is like the chip is in your freaking mouth, and the whole thing, like all of
Yeah.
it, is that heat, and it's all over your
And it's
mouth.
dry too. It's not
You're
even
like it's all over everything. Whereas like the last dab, I mean, depending on how you do it, you could just dip it in, and then you're chewing it, and you're getting a bunch of other stuff with it. So I just don't know. I don't know.
right.
So I mean, I had the last dab, like the first edition they released, which was actually made with Pepper X and like no cuts with the Carolina Reaper or whatever. And it like I've only ever like compared it to like the feeling of like getting your tongue pierced. Like because you put it on your tongue and it just immediately like it just hurts like right away. And like I did like a little like a dab, literally just oh, that was awful, and like it stayed there for quite a while.
So it was worse
But-
than the chip.
No, nothing.
okay.
Nothing
Nothing compared.
is worse than the one chip. Like,
I think it
don't
might be to that
think
point.
It could be.
Well, it's supposed to be
yeah.
reformulated this year, so you know we got to do it again.
Also, 1 second, I just want to say hi to everybody in chat. Fire Nation Panda, Madness, STI33, J. John Stud, Dad, Kels,
Everybody.
I said Fire Nation Panda, STI33, Royce Parrot Club, Freaky Gamer Girl. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of a Meeting of the Messonic Minds. For those of you who are just coming in, our special guest tonight is Fabernator. You'll see him in the bottom left TV there. That text is pointing at him too. So hey, today
I'm learning
we
my angles.
we do have a topic other than
Doesn't involve
devil
spicy
shits.
bungholes.
So and Lamp Frost, what's going on, Lamp Frost? Good to see you. Did you say something?
Hey,
Good
Lamp
God.
Frost.
Did I say madness? I don't know. I'm losing it. But welcome everybody. And J. John Stud, thank you for the follow. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Matt.
Absolutely. And thank you for the subscription kills. And Indirect Steak, thank you for the raid. I think I already said that.
I think that's everybody. I think we got
Okay.
everybody. I think we're
Our topic
locked
today
down.
is freeform jazz. I'm just kidding. It is
Scooby Bop.
that's what the podcast is really. But we do have a topic, and that is the gaming industry as we know it today. Things
Miserable
such as
wasteland.
yeah, like is it a miserable wasteland? Is there redeeming qualities? What are some of the worst releases? What are some of the best releases? Elden Ring immediately comes to mind, and stuff like that. Cyberpunk for one, and Elden Ring for another. But
Yeah.
Fabes here, as I'm calling him, even though it feels strange to me. Fabes is a big fan of the gaming industry gossip and the who's its and the what's its of the gaming industry. So we're gonna talk about the worst of the worst and the best of the best. And I'm ready. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Born ready.
Born ready.
Woohoo!
All
The
right.
mouths
So
are ready too, and that's the important piece.
let's just jump in head first. Cyberpunk 2077.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about it a lot here
Why are we
talked
starting with
about
that?
We
We
talked
talked-
about it so much.
because it's got
breath.
history, man. Like we talked about it for literally months on our original tech show.
I'm trying to find all my
That's-
Cyberpunk collectibles right now.
Oh, dude, find him.
I got one back there. I got the book somewhere. I got all. I bought like the collector's edition. I bought everything, man.
So let me ask you this: did you enjoy the game?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Okay.
I enjoyed the game. I think so. I mean, there's all kinds of different things we could talk about within this. The reality is I enjoy the game. I thought it was fun, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of things that I didn't like about it and think they could have done better with. But the issue is the expectation that I had. But in most cases, people would sit there and go, "Oh, hey, you can't have these expectations, whatever." And I hate that mindset. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I was waiting for that game to be the greatest game ever made.
Oh yeah. Well, it was hyped
Like
up
just
for
straight
years.
up. Like CD Projekt Red has an immaculate, track record at the time. I trusted them. Like they were like this one game dev company that, BioWare used to be my freaking, that's my squad. EA bought them, and then they just kind of were like not the same.
They got EA'd.
Shout out, yeah. Shout outs to Mass Effect 4 that looks like it's coming out. I will even if they make 20 more Mass Effect games, I will still remain hopeful because I adore Mass Effect that much.
Oh
Same,
my
me
god.
too.
So, like,
Matt's never
BioWare-
played it.
BioWare wasn't the same, and then CD Projekt Red. So like there was so much hype, but I think the hype is okay. I think hype is good.
Hype is good. It's just it sucks when there's so much drama that comes from a release, and it sucks when there was so much promise that just completely fell through. Like it wasn't even like oh shit, we kind of screwed up. It was like this didn't work on 90%
Like, this
of the
is
things
not-
that it came out on.
This isn't complete.
Well, I said this. It's the fact that they tried to keep it on last gen. That was their mistake. Like
That was immediately,
you,
yeah,
you
100%.
Oh, I
do not-
agree.
Like you don't release it on Xbox, and PlayStation 4, that game would have been so much better. But it's the fact that they tried to release it on last gen consoles. So now you're making it on consoles like last gen, consoles new gen, and PC. Like you literally have 3 developments going on. Like how is this ever
The
going to
other
work?
thing
And
too is how are
Yeah.
you going to release the last gen consoles before the next gen consoles?
That's what confused
yeah,
me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause one of
it
them
makes no
requires
sense.
way more development, and I was like,
Yeah.
I just
Like
didn't
if the
understand
last
it.
gen console release did not happen, the game would be 10 times better.
100%, and they kept, like, even now, however many months it's been since the release, like they're still trying to get last gen online. Nobody freaking cares about last gen. Like, are there
It's
still
true,
people
dude.
playing on last gen? Yes, and I don't want to
Of course.
disrespect any gamers that are out there, but like, how long has the PlayStation 5 been out now? In the new Xbox Series X?
It's
2
been
years?
Has it been
I'm
Has it been
on
2
it.
years?
Was it 2020 or was it 2019?
I think it was 2021. I thought.
Released
No.
November 12th on
2020.
2020. Yep.
Yep.
Holy
Okay.
shit,
So almost
you
2
think-
years.
So we're a year and a
How are
half
we
into
still?
it.
Yeah, like I mean, like, and there's no doubt that trying to produce it for last gen is a massive crutch, like
I
an
think-
incredibly huge crutch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The
Well, and
problem
I think the problem. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the problem that comes with this is that when that game gets released, because you're releasing it, less than a year from that timing. Not everyone has that new console, and the bad part is these
Right.
games are worrying about getting as many copies out day one. You want to
Yeah,
be able to say, day one, because if you solely released it on PS5, let's say, and it's only, at that time 10 million sold,
Sure.
and it comes out with bad reviews, and then they release it for old gen, no one's going to want to buy it. You have to sell it as fast as possible and then fix it now, which is
Well,
horrible, but it's what they're doing, which is
Well,
why they
and the-
did last gen.
the thing about CD Projekt Red though is, again, they're that reputable company, right? Like prior to this release, they're the company that everybody's like, it's good guy CD Projekt Red. Like they could not do us wrong.
Well,
And
you have to
seeing like
remember
the business
too,
tendencies of an EA
right?
in like their release of Cyberpunk 2077 from the higher ups was like, I feel like a lot of people were like heartbroken by
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
I think,
you know,
I'm with you because it really was like the idea and the hype behind the game was massive, and somewhere along the journey, I'd say within the last like year and a half of release, hype really started. Even 2 years, like that game was so hyped, And as it started to get more hyped, I just think that the people in charge, not the people that create the game, not the people that have anything to do with like getting the game to the consumer, but like the people that see green and the people that see like what was happening. Like, so you talk about, you know, you want to sell big right away, and that's what they went for. And because they had that mentality, like everything fell apart. But like, let's say they did do an exclusive release. So they didn't do an exclusive release. So it's that much more important to have it together at the start, because so if you did an exclusive release for PlayStation or Xbox, right? Mm-hmm. You can release it on new gen, and that can be like a console selling mechanism, right? And so you can enter into talks with Sony, you get paid more money. Like they could have gotten a ton of money for making it exclusive or doing something like that. Like if that's how you want to see green, like fine, do that, because I'm okay with that. Like I don't support consoles or any specific platform. Like I am here for games, but business is business, and you have to have competition. That's how the gaming industry gets better. So if you're going to release it on a platform and use it like as a growth mechanic for another company, fine, do that. But what they did is they were like, we can have it all. Like we can have it all. And because they thought they could have it all, it's like, it's a good game. And in time, you know, they're gonna No Man's Sky it. I'm sure. I'll probably go back in a couple years and play it again.
I'm still waiting, dude.
Quite fun, but there's so many things that they still haven't even touched. You can see there was like choice, like there were supposed to be so many more like interactions between like your choices mattering and doing things. I played the entire game through without killing a single person, like, and not once did it mean anything. Like why is the mechanic in the game? Like it just shows you that there was such a large how much more was left out. How much more was left out? I remember that my main gripe even to this day is now like the endings. Like I think all the endings like were all disappointing, because not one of them felt like me.
Yeah.
Fair. I mean, I still haven't even finished it, right? And I think that, I mean, obviously this was a game that I was like, this is it. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And I think I got maybe like 15 hours in until I was like, this isn't it. And I think that you guys went in with the mindset, okay, it's still a good game. Like you look at it from like, you know, the movie Wanted versus the comic Wanted. And it's like Wanted as a movie is fine, but if you compare it to the comic book, it's terrible. It's like you're looking at Cyberpunk of like, I was expecting this, but what I got was this, and what I got was fine.
Yeah.
But I refuse to accept that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there are pieces of Cyberpunk, like if you take a look at them in a magnifying glass, and just that are absolutely exquisite. Like,
absolutely.
The thing that is so frustrating is that there are pieces to that game that are, yes, this could have been the greatest game of all time. Like, and people talk about, oh, it was just too hyped. That's not the issue. It wasn't too hyped. No. Some people get hyped on games and then they're like disappointed in what they had. This game could have been the greatest game of all time, but
it should have been.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to say it should have been, but like, again, we look at the larger industry right now and the decisions that people make, like it's like, I just won't be surprised anymore if I'm let down. I'm still going to get excited. I'm still going to be somebody that backs games that I'm excited for, but I just won't be surprised anymore.
Well, I don't blame the makers of the game, like the people who created the overall game. I blame the CEOs.
Yeah,
I blame
100%. 100%.
The people who really fucked it up for everybody. Especially when you learn like the development cycle had not actually gotten anywhere until 2018?
Right.
It was something like that they actually got to start working on it. Prior it was just a bunch of preliminary crap.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because the first teaser, I just looked at it. I was just like, I started just typing in a bunch of information about Cyberpunk's like early teasers.
Yeah.
It started getting teased May 30th, 2012.
Yeah.
So it has 8 years.
I followed that game for a long effing time.
I
had been growing in hype for a long effing time. And which again just goes back to like, why in the world did they rush it? Like
how in the world did they rush it?
I get why they rush it. Like I get why they rush it, but it's so stupid. Like they lost so much money. Like I don't know what the numbers are. Actually, I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume that they lost so much money. Maybe not loss, but Like
I know they got
comparatively
sued.
about how much they could have made.
Yeah.
Like you got to think 10 years down the line. Like look at The Witcher 3. I still haven't beaten The Witcher 3. I've only played it a little bit. Like that game is still regarded as one of the greatest games of all time, right? Like that game is still selling. Still people are playing it. Still people love that game. And what that does for brand recognition, you got CD Projekt Red. Why is CD Projekt Red who they are? Because of their work on Witcher, right? Like
Absolutely.
it has the brand power to make them billions of dollars. Like and if they play patient, it's that immediate gratification versus the opposite of immediate gratification, like delayed gratification. We're just such a world of immediate gratification. Everybody was like, all right, let's just freaking send it. But
well, and they were
and that's the thing about
they were so solid to announce, like when they did the initial announcement trailer. Like I remember the way that ended is it ended with "It's coming when it's ready."
Yeah,
that's
the
true.
thing. They were
I'm
very
like,
consistent.
okay, these guys are going to spend some time on this, and
they
then
delayed it so many
and they
times,
didn't,
and I was fine. And they were always, you go look at the comments, and the majority, I have to assume the majority. I'd read them, and like people are like, yes, take your time. We don't want to rush it. Of course, there were 4 or 5, or probably like 30%, 20% that were just absolute degenerates. Like, bro, how many times are you going to delay this game? Like those people,
Yeah, dude, of course.
their comments and their opinions don't even deserve to be a part of the game. Like just ignore that. But yeah, I mean,
so to answer the question of profitability, it profited $500 million by the end of 2020. That accounts for everything that was refunded. That accounts for the cost to make the game. They made just about $500 million.
How much has Witcher 3 profited?
I will get on that. And also to somebody else, to an earlier note that we made. I'm just researching shit right now, like
Messonic
crazy.
accountant text.
Damn right. No, the other thing is that to note another game that a good buddy of mine is excited for, but it's still going to old generation console. God of War Ragnarok comes out this year, PlayStation 4 and 5.
True.
Wow, old console. I have somebody in our community that just played through the whole game.
Ragnarok?
That's interesting. It makes sense because you want to make it, especially with everything that we faced. What was it? They had to like completely halt making PlayStation 5s for a while.
The landscape of the deployment and the sale of the PS5 and the Xbox was so badly screwed up because of the pandemic. And I do feel like that made some companies look back and they're like, maybe we should just release this on older gen as well. Which in Cyberpunk's case, they should have just looked at it and said, this is never going to work.
They should have done a PC release.
Yeah.
And then a console release much later down the line.
Yeah.
Because it ran perfectly okay on PC. It wasn't like the greatest thing.
And that
in the
was
world.
the thing. Like it didn't run perfectly okay, but it ran well enough, right? Like
it ran.
It ran. It ran. It had its glitches. It had its moments. Like there were random things that happened, but it ran.
I just remember 70 miles down the freeway and you T-pose.
I just remember the trees, man.
In the news.
Next thing I know, the trees would be freaking whipping around and be like, hey, or occasionally my pants would end up not equipped.
Yes.
There was a I have a TikTok that was hilarious. I was sitting and giving this speech, with what's her name? What's the biker? Well, she's not a biker chick, but
Sam? Was it Sam?
No. The girl that likes her big Humvee.
I thought that was what was it?
I forget her name.
I don't remember.
Yeah. So that chick, I was with her outlaw gang, and they were like I forget all the names. I haven't played in so long.
Same.
And I just gave this speech on the back of a truck. And I was like, it was this great little speech. It was awesome. And as I jumped down, he jumps and you get the POV of him hitting his legs, and my legs were bare. And so I'm like, no way, what? And as we're sitting there, I'm like, I did not just what's going on? And I went into my settings, right as everybody in the room, the whole area are staring at me. I go in and I'm like, I'm in this thong. I'm like, how did this happen? Not like this.
This is my worst nightmare.
MRVFR says Pam was the name.
Yes, Pam. Pam. Mr. V, what's good, bro?
Oh, Mr. V. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. Mr. V.
Faves, to answer your question, I just pulled up the numbers here.
Yeah.
Compared to Cyberpunk, Witcher 3 did not sell as well its first year and a half.
Oh, yeah,
oh,
I
yeah,
didn't
no,
think,
of course
no
not.
way, a year and a half, no way.
To
Yeah.
this date, it has sold over 40 million copies, but because they also discount it like crazy, they believe it's somewhere in the ballpark of about $1 billion overall in profit.
But like, I mean, look at that, dude.
Yeah.
But
It's $1
compared
billion.
to such a train wreck like Cyberpunk 2077, that almost kind of makes it look like, does it matter how much you put into it? People would
Well,
still
and
buy
true.
it.
I mean, they still made $500 million in the first,
Like-
year. Like,
Well, my next thing is how many people were just complacent enough to not ask for a refund?
Well, and I think like I was one.
Yeah,
of
but
those,
how many games suffer that? How many games suffer
Yeah.
from the fact that you coattail that hype so much? Like at the point of this day right now, hype is sold. Hype sells the game.
Right.
I think the last game
it's
that
true.
actually succeeded because of its like, actually, no, it didn't even succeed. I can remember when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013 or 2012, and how that game outsold Call of Duty. And
Yeah.
at that time, that was insanity.
The last
And nobody
hype
played the
beast,
game.
the last hype beast that truly succeeded was Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Like 200%. Like the game came out.
careful about getting me talking about Elden Ring. I'll talk about this all night long, man.
Did it, though?
I'm counting on it. Oh, dude.
It delivered.
I'm not saying that the game is bad.
Elden Ring deserves everything.
Yeah.
It
I'm
does.
not saying the game is
deserves
bad.
everything. Did you hear what they
Right.
did in the first few weeks of the release when it was successful?
What?
They gave a raise to every single person in their company.
Oh, I remember
and
reading that, yeah.
immediately took care of the people that that made the game.
Well, and From Software is the company that everybody is like, let me hold you. Let me
I
hold you
adore
up on
them.
this
I
pedestal.
adore them.
because-
They deserve every freaking piece. Like, I have never played a game. I have not played anything except for Elden Ring in the last 2 months. I don't even know how many hours logged.
Oh, dude, you
In
have
my
hundreds at this
opinion,
point.
is like video games personified. Like it is maybe the greatest video game ever created, which
Oh,
I
wow.
think is absolutely incredible
Mhm.
because I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be this good.
And
Well, and
that's kind of how I felt. Like
Yeah.
when I first started playing, I'm like, okay, this game is something that like at this point I had given up ever was going to come out because they didn't talk about it. They didn't do like almost anything. Anytime there was even a whisper about Elden Ring, the world like would set ablaze. But they never jumped aboard the hype train. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were just like, okay, well,
I
here for it.
ignored you every single time you talked about it because I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
you always ignore me because you're like, it's not even going to come
Oh,
out. It's never
it's
going to
like-
come
I
out.
think
care.
that's what makes those games succeed a little bit better. Like the games that don't talk are the ones that come out
yeah,
pretty damn well.
right.
Yeah,
Well-
and like they're fully baked. There's
Well,
no
they
dough in
talked,
them.
Yeah.
like they talked, right? But they had I agree, like fully baked, Jake, like 100%, because this is a company that has made its name. They've had a cult following since day one, right?
Yep.
So they have a core audience in which they're looking at and saying, hey, this is who we're creating games for. This is our identity. And we're sticking to that. So they had integrity, right? To stay
Yep.
towards who they are. And they were always going to put that game out like the way they wanted to put it out, no matter what, because they already had that following.
Yeah.
Like the people that are going to love absolutely like the masochism.
Sure, dude, absolutely.
And now they did amazing things to make it accessible, which again is just like the way that they approach difficulty is just so incredibly awesome. And so original and unlike anything else that is in the industry, like so groundbreaking, so many things. I mean, similar to things of old, but anyway, they just, they know their identity. They committed to that identity and they delivered a product in which they knew they would be proud of. And they knew that like their community would be proud of. And it caught some lucky breaks. They had some accessibility. They made like, frick, oh, I'm getting excited even thinking about. I love that game so much. Like it is so freaking good. There's
It's a fantastic game.
It is
It's solid.
it is perfection. Like
Well-
it is a 10 out of 10 game
Yeah.
that will define what makes a great game.
And I think it brings back a lot of the aspects that most of us who grew up with gaming really miss.
Yeah.
Didn't have DLC. You didn't have in-game purchases. You just
And
got
you had
the
to-
game.
You had a difficulty that was respectable,
Yeah, and
obviously.
so Elden Ring released and did that, and it shockingly, or like unshockingly enough, like it took over. I've never seen a game blow up as much as it has on like TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
Especially with the niche. I don't want to say niche, but the cult
it's not
following.
niche anymore.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
so-
at this
It was a cult following. Here's my philosophy on it. Is like, we can talk about the gaming industry. I think the reason things come down to hype now is because I think the way we sell games and the way that we review games has like fundamentally changed with things like Twitch. And YouTube's been around for a long time, but we can talk about that later. The reality is, I mean, what is more entertaining than watching Elden Ring? Like so you got somebody brand new to the game just absolutely getting destroyed, and like, well, how is their mental? Can they handle it? Somebody who's really good that makes the game look easy, but everybody knows it's extreme. Like, it's not easy at all. The freaking hyper chads that make the game look like it's the easiest thing in the world, and they're
Like the
freaking
speedrunners
butt
and
naked,
shit.
no health, whatever the frick people are doing. Speedrunners, like there's everything. There's multiplayer, like invading, like it has everything.
Yeah.
And
It does.
it's just so impressive.
Well, and it's an amalgamation of like years of a formula that they've like been perfecting.
Kind of perfecting
Every year.
that craft.
Like in my opinion, prior to Elden Ring, Bloodborne. is the best from software.
Bloodborne is a masterpiece. Like Bloodborne is amazing, but like I accept the fact that like people at the time, like people didn't. There's certain people that just can't handle from software difficulty, and
No,
I get it. Like
it's
it
true.
is extremely challenging. I think Dark Souls 3 was absolutely fantastic.
What do you think of the
made
difficulty of Dark Souls 3?
What's that?
What do you think of the difficulty of Dark Souls 3?
What do you mean? What do I think of it?
Like
In comparison to
like
something, or
in comparison to say Elden Ring or Bloodborne.
oh, those are like Elden Ring is by far the easiest because you have the
Interesting.
option. Yeah, because you have the option to do so many other things. And I think that's what's beautiful about it is like it's now more accessible because I get why people don't want to play Dark Souls because Dark Souls is unforgiving, and it is like
true.
So when it comes to difficulty in description, like Dark Souls gets its own category. Like you go down difficulty rankings, like, easy, story mode, medium, hard, nightmare, whatever. Then it's Dark Souls. Like Dark Souls
true.
is its own category, and there's not as many options in those games to freaking jump on a horse or use. There's things like ranged abilities and magic, but it's not nearly as powerful. And so you're ultimately left to the game is like persevere, like
Just get through it.
get good. And if
true.
you do that, if you commit, you're going to experience like what no other game can provide. And that's the elation when you beat a boss, when you beat the game. There's no game that can touch it. And like all they did, like they still have that. I still played my first playthrough. I never wear clothes. I never use like any summons. I never use any magic. I played it the way I wanted to play it, and I got the exact experience. Now, playing the way I wanted to play, it was the same difficulty as Bloodborne. It was the same
Sure.
difficulty as Dark Souls 3 because I played it that way, the way I wanted it. But I think it's so beautiful that they created the opportunity for people to play it the way they wanted to, so you didn't have to jump in and just, the first time I played Dark Souls, I was like, F this, and I threw it away and I never touched it again for 2 years. And then everybody was like, dude, this game is so amazing. I'm like, frick. And I just banged my head against a wall in Dark Souls 1 for like 2 hours. And then all of a sudden I found my way to a boss and then fought a boss and then realized, holy frick, this feeling is like amazing. And I used a little guide and went through and like, you got to make it accessible. And they did.
Well,
Thank
and
you
that's
for validating my feelings.
okay. Hold on. I
Dark
want
Souls
to.
3 being
I want to.
more difficult because
take
Jake's
Matt's
been an
feelings.
ass about that one.
I want to take Matt's
it's
feelings.
it's not even a question like of what's more difficult. Like, because Elden
I'm
Ring has
loving
so many
this.
more options.
Okay, that is fair, and I'll give you that. I think my problem with Elden Ring is that the chat made me start as a wretch, so I got my ass handed to me consistently. And
True.
I mean, in Dark Souls 3, I mean, I did dex builds, so I'm doing a dex build in Elden Ring, which isn't necessarily the greatest idea, apparently. And
Dex is great.
what fair, but I remember playing Dark Souls 3, okay, and I laugh at Matt all the time because I've never seen him get angrier at anything other than maybe Pogo Stuck.
Yeah,
But I mean, he gets annihilated all the time, and I just don't remember that being the exact experience that I had, even though it was my first Souls experience. Whereas in Elden Ring, I am getting my ass fucking handed to me everywhere I go.
And I love watching it.
And it's funny because it really, like, I feel like Dark Souls 3 was infinitely easier for my style of gameplay. Like, when I think of bosses from Dark Souls 3, like, the worst that comes to mind to me still to this day is the Abyss Watchers. Like, 200%. But, like, I've fought now Margit, and I'm on Godric, and Godric is like a next level moveset that I've never seen from a Souls type game in any like way, shape, or form, to the point of where I'm like, how do you even do this?
Let me ask you this question, Jake, because I think you mentioned that you were playing Elden Ring kind of offline with your boy earlier, weren't you?
Yeah, I started a character for him. He made a green character with red eyes and called him Doom Killer.
So let me ask you this question: is it? Do you think that Elden Ring is harder for you because you're playing on a stream where you have a bunch
What's going on back there? Did you have an earthquake, dude?
Sounds like it. No, you have a stream that's kind of, for lack of a better term, giving you recommendations. You are focused on content. You're not worried on like grinding. Whereas if you're playing on your own, you might be just grinding, and you worry about leveling up before you face Godric or.
Wait, did you play Dark Souls 3 offline?
Yes, I did. I played Dark Souls 3.
I definitely think that's a huge piece.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, though. When I'm
100%.
playing with my son, I want to be the most entertaining that I can be. So, like, I do definitely see that point of view. And maybe if I was playing like a truly solo, but like I am purely like, I am the most obnoxious that I've ever been when I'm playing that game with my son. I'm screaming, I'm wailing, I'm singing everything. And it's because I want him to enjoy the experience. Do you know
I
what
guess
mean?
it's not because you're trying to entertain. My thought is this: if I'm playing offline, I'm going to do whatever I want to do and whatever I want to do to like get stronger. Right. So I'm going to farm. I'm going to go do whatever. I'm going to fight a boss. And if I die, I'm not going to care at all. I'm just going to go back and in. The second you stream it, you're adding like the second you start to farm, like
it's boring.
People are gonna be like, oh dude, you're high level, like, or whatever, like, oh, this isn't enough, like, oh, you're not even beating it, I beat him at this level, and like all of that stuff starts to come in. You're farming, which is not enjoyable, like, so you're processing a lot more of what's going on, and now every time you die, the same processing is going. It's like, oh, are these guys thinking I'm bad, or like, so you're gonna think about every loss just so much more. And my theory is that like that's why it comes off as more challenging, because there's more pressure. There's more pressure on you when you're playing in front of an audience. Now, with your son, it's still an audience. You still want to entertain. But how old is your son?
He's 9.
Your son couldn't freaking care less about how many times you die.
No, he wants it, dude. He wants it.
Exactly.
Like,
so
you're just my goal is to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's like, it's enjoyable, offline. I guess. So here's what I want to say. I do believe the other games are harder, but I will defend every single Elden Ring player till the day I die. I am the guy that plays the game naked and plays it with no vigor and like does everything to make it more challenging.
You're the Turbo Chad.
Well, yeah, like I am, but I'm not the Turbo Chad that is like gonna shame somebody. I will like viciously protect. Like, I never count deaths. I never count how many times, because that ruins what the game is about.
Sure.
Elden Ring, like Morgan, like taking down Melania, like there are some seriously challenging bosses in the game. And I don't care how you play it. I don't care what build you use. Like, I don't care. If you commit to beating this game and you beat it, like that is an amazing achievement. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing achievement. And this game is hard. I'm not saying that this game is not hard.
Sure.
But I just don't think it's as hard because you're just given so many more options. There's so many more options.
I mean, that's fair. And they made they made the options that are within Dark Souls 3 more entertaining, right? Because like, okay,
totally.
sure, before I go and fight the Abyss Watchers, I can run through the Forbidden Woods 400 times and kill everything and like level up and get turbo like hardcore. But that is highly boring. Like I don't want to continuously do that. Whereas in Elden Ring, I can go to the very corner of the map and fight something crazy and then like go all the way up to the top. There's just so many fantastic opportunities presented.
There's so much to that game.
And I think maybe I haven't given it enough time to kind of realize that. And because I've been playing offline, I've like found stuff that I was like I've not even gotten close to in my stream playthrough. And I think that there is a little bit of like, okay, because I'm playing this on stream, like I want it to be entertaining instead of like, I want to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Don't
And I
worry,
think
we
that's
saw
the issue.
Don't worry, we saw Matt play against one boss for 3 hours one time, and
I had a hard time with that one.
he was content.
Which boss? Which one was
the
it?
first boss I took down, it took me a freaking. So I started Elden Ring on March 1st of that long streaming every single day in the month of March. So I went as the wretch. I was completely naked, soul level 1 or rune level 1. I walked outside, saw the tree sentinel. Like,
God damn it.
I never walked into the I didn't even realize there was a tutorial area. I just walked straight the frick outside, butt naked with my little stick, saw the tree sentinel, looked at chat and said, I'm not doing anything until I kill him. So rune level 1, I killed tree sentinel after like 4 hours. Like it took me hours. It took me hours
You
because
did the Markiplier offense.
what is that?
That's what Markiplier did when he first played Elden Ring.
Oh, really?
he spent an hour just smacking that thing.
And he played like as a knight. He had like a sword.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's way harder than rune level 1, dude. Like because that's 9 levels. Like, and you got the little tiny stick. Well, I don't want to say way harder. It's the same. It's the same difficulty.
Right.
You're just given less. You're just given less
Opportunity.
but
And
it
you're still
was
two-hit no matter what.
it was so like that's just freaking Dark Souls, dude. It's the best feeling in the world. Like
It is.
It is good.
when you commit to something like that, and you don't have to. Like you should, like, if you want to play the game and go somewhere else and come back and fight them when you're a little bit more level, do it. You want to come back when you're freaking God mode and just hit him in 3 shots, do it. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, that video game is so freaking good. Like,
It really is. No, I mean,
like if you break it down into all the parts of what make a video game good, I didn't realize, but a guy, Dr. Disrespect, I respect the crap out of him just because of how entertaining he is and how entertaining he makes things.
Yeah.
And I just found out the other day that he like basically put it in his top 3 games all time. Like, and that shows you something, because here's a dude that was in game development and all those things, and obviously he's got his persona and all of those things, but here's a dude that makes a living playing multiplayer games, doesn't break
Shooters
away to go to
primarily.
doesn't go away to single player games often, if ever.
Right.
And like played through this whole game, and like I saw a TikTok today of him like telling Tim the Tap Man he's got to play it. Like he's just like, you have to play it.
How are
Like
you
this
doing?
game
Why are
is,
you not playing?
you know.
Yeah.
So it is just so. Oh man, I will sing the praises of Elden Ring.
It's an anomaly in today's gaming atmosphere, I think.
well, and I think that I've always told Matt, like, you got to play Dark Souls. You got to play Dark Souls. You just have to. And like, I was the guy who 100% was like, I will never fucking play Dark Souls ever in my life for any reason, forever. Because the first one I ever played was actually Dark Souls 2. And never even ran through the entire thing because I just personally didn't like what I saw out of it. And I think it's like
Dark
probably
Souls 2
the
wasn't even
worst
made by
way.
From Software, which I
know
didn't realize.
It was made by a completely different dev and everything, and they just leaned into the difficulty and not into the story building or the world building or the tough but fair, if that makes sense. Like, it was literally just everything was broken. But I played Dark Souls 3, and that was my first true experience, and I've gone through it 4 times now, and I just think it's like, I personally, maybe it's only because it's me, it was the perfect introduction to a Souls-like. And I think that's where I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's not as hard because like Dark Souls 2 was unfortunately hard, and Dark Souls 1 I think is considerably harder.
Yeah, and that gets into the intricacies of like what is like tangibly harder and like justify like what comes down. What's the friggin' word I'm looking for? Like you like provable. What's the word? Shoot. Like we can talk about what makes something harder from a perspective of yourself, like in how it feels, or like in a what's the word I'm looking for? Like the two comparisons. Frick.
Highlight Frost.
When something is like a feeling versus like provable. And scientific.
Tangible?
Nope.
No.
Quantitative versus qualitative?
Yes, it's another way of saying quantitative versus qualitative.
Okay.
I'll go with that way.
Freaking A, man. Like it's gosh darn it, bro. My ADHD brain is like freaking fixated on this right now, and I can't even get through it. Not feasible. Good try, Lamb. Like,
dude, I'm honestly, I'm really trying to.
Okay, fine. I will think of it one day. I'm going to force my ADHD brain away from it. Like, you can look at it as in the form of like, okay, so what is technically like this game is literally harder than this game, blah 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 blah.
Right.
Like, because it is like Dark Souls 2 is really hard because it's just trying to be hard. Like it's just trying to screw you over, like more so than the normal Dark Souls. Like it's actually just trying to be a butthole. Like, and
it's true. It's just there to make you mad,
and that sucks. So yes, technically that can be harder, but I think in general, like difficulty from via like approach, because of Dark Souls, like you have a certain amount of freedom. Elden Ring gives you so much more freedom. So the ability, subjective versus objective.
There it is. Subjective versus objective. There you go.
I was like, I'm just going to
go.
put that in there because I know he's on a roll right now.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I was
Just
in
like
there,
art,
it's like,
it's
wait a
also-
minute, quantitative versus qualitative, subjective versus fuck. That's literally my mind.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
Oh, man.
I love celery.
I forget what I was talking about now, but
Do you feel relieved that you've gotten that out now?
I do. I feel like I just took down a boss in Dark Souls, dude.
Best feeling in
feeling
the
good,
world,
man.
Best feeling in the
Feeling
world.
good.
Matt, is it the best
though?
feeling in the world though?
It's a fantastic feeling. It is a good feeling, even though my last stream I found out it wasn't even a boss that I was fighting for 3 hours.
No, you were fighting a total
There's
optional.
no. Are you just
side.
talking about the feeling of playing Dark Souls and like winning?
Yeah,
when you finally like overcome
There is-
the obstacle that felt
There's no game.
insurmountable?
Well,
There is no game that can compare
Yeah.
to the
true.
feeling of succeeding in Dark Souls. Like
It
there's
makes you
just
want to
not-
leap up. It makes you want to leap up and just like scream
Well,
at the top
because
of
it
your lungs.
required something of you. Like it actually required something of you. And there's no like, you didn't choose a difficulty. You didn't choose, like, it was the only thing that you had to do is commit. Like,
Yeah. You
don't
had to
give
get
up.
good, dude.
Whether it took you 5 attempts or 500, you beat it. You have now beaten that boss, and you're done. Like you've beaten it. Like it,
Right.
Oh,
I've
My
never
brain is
played
so-
a game that made me tired.
oh.
I was exhausted, and then when I finally kicked that thing's ass, it was like a piece of me melted away and said, "It's good. You can rest now."
Yeah, dude.
you
Like
can
it is.
finally rest.
It's untouchable. Like that feeling. Like what are some other great feelings in a game? Like, right, like that can compare to that. So beating a game, right? Like the feeling of beating a game feels fantastic. I would say Elden Ring, you get that feeling almost every single time you beat a boss, right? Like
Absolutely.
you get that feeling of elation. You get that feeling of accomplishment every single time you face a boss. So you're taking the feeling of like beating a game and how good that feels, and you're applying it 40 times through the course of the game, which is just crazy. You've got like multiplayer games where you get a freaking double kill, triple kill, and you're looking like a badass.
Right.
You're
Like
just feeling like on top of the world, dude.
that's the when you one shot a boss or first try a boss, or like you get that feeling too. Like there's just there's no feeling in games. There's puzzles in it. There's hidden story to be found. There is.
I love the way they tell stories in the Dark Souls.
Oh,
like,
dude.
in all of them, dude.
Oh, dude, it's
And that's-
incredible.
That's a big problem people have is the lack of story, and it's like, no, you just have to find
Don't
it.
you dare. Yeah. Don't you dare call it lack of story. Now,
Exactly.
don't get me like there are times I want to sit down and I want to play Mass Effect, right?
Absolutely.
Mass Effect is going to spoon feed me story, and it's going to allow me to, choose the spoon and choose the type of food, and it's going to fulfill me and give me the ending that I want because I got to play through the whole game the way I want it to, right?
And you're going to run through it fairly easily.
Totally. Now I can create some challenges, but you're playing in hard mode, this and that. But the reason I'm playing Mass Effect isn't because I want a challenge, right? Like I'm playing it because I want story. And Elden Ring has, so much effing story to it. But it also just has so much challenge. But that's what the game is the creators of the game, they put this game out there and they said, take what you want. Like take what you want. You can sprint through it. You can quit. You can do whatever you want. You can, there is so much content to be had, or so little, depending on what you want to do. Like you can cheese bosses, you can summon a bunch of people, and you can get through this game as quick as you want. It is freedom. Like, oh my gosh. The only thing it's missing in comparison to like other games is like in Zelda, Breath of the Wild, when you're out in the mountaintops and you get a nice little piano that, and you're like, oh yeah, like it just doesn't have the piano where it gives you that moment. Like that's the only thing it doesn't have.
No, that's fair.
So I'm curious, guys, because after we clean up the floor after the Elden Ring drip, what was considered your biggest letdown for the year of 2022?
2022. I'm trying.
We're only halfway through it.
2021. We'll go
not
back
all the way
a bit.
through it.
We'll go back a bit. What was
Are
your
we not allowed to
biggest
talk about
letdown?
Cyberpunk? Oh, wait, that
No,
was
because we
2020.
Actually,
I
that's
would say
technically
2020.
2020. That was actually technically 2020.
Oh well.
Yeah, I think
That's
Mr.
true.
V had asked this question in chat, so I wanted to
Yeah,
make sure
Mr.
we
V,
get it out there.
we want to get that out there. 2021.
Pulling up my Steam.
I know that's exactly what I'm doing.
That's a good
That's
idea.
literally exactly
that is
what
a
I'm
solid idea.
You all are pulling up Steam, and I'm pulling up like the release schedule.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. I should do the same thing actually.
Because it can be a game that you don't own, but you know that watching is like you wanted to buy it, and it just went.
You know
right.
what it is for me? It's still Battlefield, man.
Okay. That's
Because
fair.
I'm a Battlefield guy. I've loved that game since Battlefield Bad Company. Like I was so sad that it felt like Battlefield and it was released like Battlefield. Which says something.
Can that really be the biggest letdown when it kind of has the name of itself? Like, if you know it's coming up and you have hope that it's going to be better than everything else, and it comes out just like everything else, was that a letdown or just
the
high
problem
expectations?
is that, say, Battlefield 5, great game, came out fairly solidly. Like, it had its issues. But I don't think it carried the same like nostalgia and love that a lot of people had for Battlefield. Partially just because it was based on an older time of war. But you release this game that everyone's been waiting for, everyone wanted, and it follows the same thing like the hype schedule. But Battlefield 2042 was released with so little content, so many issues, and it's funny that you mentioned Dr. Disrespect because he pointed it out when they started streaming. He was like, "Look at this wonderful storefront," and you open the storefront and it says no content available for a game that just released.
Exactly.
And it just shows how poorly planned and released it was, and to the point now where they're talking about maybe we should just go free to play and call it a loss.
I think they're going to be perfectly honest.
I mean,
Isn't
but
it funny
wasn't-
that EA didn't have a store?
Dude, of all the people to
Of
not have
all
a store.
companies to release without a money-grubbing DLC-ridden store, I was amazed that it didn't have one.
But in fairness, after all the shit they got for previous games, like let's be honest, I think like
Does
the
dude, EA doesn't fucking care. Just stop trying to
don't.
convince yourself that they care.
it's not that they care, it's that they were almost forced to care because of the lawsuits that they were in over things like Battlefront and all that shit.
Again, they just
I'm
don't
not saying
care.
that they actually care, but
They've got the money to front the issues, and that's the problem. Is they're like, just throw more money at it and it'll be fine.
Well, it's like
gotta-
Epic Games too. I mean, you look at Epic Games and
I
they're
think-
polarizing.
Epic Games to me is
past.
a cancer in the gaming
I
industry.
tend to think that EA learned a valuable lesson with 2042.
Don't
EA
get
doesn't
caught.
learn lessons.
I
That
have
was
a
a
feeling
lesson.
they did
Don't
this
get
time.
caught.
But yeah,
Did they
that's
still
true.
own BioWare?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Unfortunately, yes, they do.
We were actually
Because
just
we are
talking
getting-
about this.
We're getting Dragon Age and Mass Effect 4. Like,
Yeah.
I have no faith for the new Dragon Age, and I loved Inquisition. Like,
dude, I haven't played
crazy.
Inquisition, so no spoilers about Inquisition.
Oh,
I
no,
want to play
I'm
it.
not. I'm just gonna say I love that
But
game.
the OG Dragon Age, like,
Right.
Fucking amazing.
it's
Origins.
freaking amazing, dude.
Fantastic. Well, the same thing with freaking Mass Effect, dude. I mean, there's games that are like literally helped shape my opinion of video games as I was growing up. Because
I talk about like you like best game of all time, favorite game of all time, like, and like there's different tops that I have. For me, Mass Effect is my favorite franchise of all time, like just without a doubt. Like,
Interesting.
It like, I just love story. And I love the freedom to tell your own story. It reminded me of like playing Fable as a kid, and you're going through and you get to change the story. You get to change how people respond to you. They made three games. They made 3 games back to back to back that your decisions affected all of them. They were the first to really do that, right? Like, there were other people that had used a little thing here, a little thing there, but they made 3 games in which, like, all of your story. So when I say Mass Effect, I mean Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Like,
the trilogy. Yeah.
they go together because they're all effectively affecting each other. Right. And
they do.
I'm not saying it's the best game of all time. I'm just saying, like, it's my favorite because you sit down, you get everything you want. You get comedy, you get action, you get like freaking alien sex. Like, you get whatever you want.
Yeah,
whatever you want,
everything.
man. like whatever you want. Like, the world is yours, and it's deep, and there's tons of lore, and you can just sit. I mean, I don't even know how many times I've fallen asleep in the pause menu of that game, just listening to like music or listening to the
like,
freaking
fantastic soundtrack.
You know, just the Asari come from something, like, and you're just listening to this dude's voice, and you're like, yes, dude. Like, and you just fall asleep listening to lore. Like,
That's what
I love that shit. I love it.
It's just so good.
Effectively, I can't really pinpoint my most disappointing thing from 2021.
I'm just more.
Yeah.
I think 2021. The thing that disappoints me the most is just the continued, like, deliverance of uncompleted games. Like, so Cyberpunk was 2020. Like, the crest of 2020 was like this moment of, oh wait. Like, it was almost like the announcement of the problem. Like, we already kind of felt it. We already kind of knew it. And then that came out, and it's like, dude, why are games being released that aren't completed? And then the entire next year, like, how many games, like, were released that just weren't completed? And that's why I actually loved, like, I think Halo had a great release because, like, I played through the campaign and I loved it. Like, Elden Ring comes out, it's great. I hear the Borderlands game that just came out and, and was great. Like, you know,
that one got a decent return on it. Yeah.
I haven't played it, but I heard that one is completed. So, like, I can think of the games that have come out and that have been completed, but it's just like, there's so few, like, I'm just getting so tired. I'm getting so tired of games like delivering early access. Maybe that's what 2021 is, the year of early access, and I just am so over it, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I think
should be resolved.
I'm not against early access, betas, alphas, any of those.
Yeah, that's
I'm against is every single studio on the freaking planet releasing games in early access.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and there were a lot of reports that came in when we played the initial Battlefield beta. They were like, yeah, this is funky and broken, and there's a lot of issues. And like, okay, cool, we're gonna fix those. And then they did nothing.
They did nothing.
I remember thinking they would fix it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, dude, they're gonna fix it.
I was like, holy shit, they're listening
not.
to their beta.
Well, and
and
the
then,
cynic, like, I'm so cynical when it comes to EA already that I'm like, they're not going to do anything. Like, I just already know this is not going to be good.
right.
We played the beta, and I actually did enjoy my time with it. We had
was
a lot
enjoyable.
of fun with the jank, but I mean, literally, I'm so jaded and so cynical about video game companies and the industry as a whole that it's like early access or these games that are releasing that are not complete for $60. I'm just not surprised anymore. And
Well, I
like,
think
I'm more blown away when a game is finished.
I think
You know
it
what I mean?
shows
Than
too,
anything.
with like a lot of, especially like our community, like a lot of us play heavily in the indie game sphere.
Game of the year 2021 was Happy's Humble Burger Farm.
Yeah. Well,
For
and that
me,
shows,
what?
it shows a lot.
200%.
It shows a
Oh
lot.
shoot! Biggest disappointment? Frick! Last of Us 2.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I forgot that came out in
Got the game
2020.
out.
This is
Massive
going to
disconnect.
be a problem.
Massive.
I-
Why?
Adored The Last of Us 2.
Okay,
I
why?
loved every fucking second of that game because
If it
listen,
was not
Tex,
Last of Us 2, it would be a great game.
listen, Tex, listen, Fabes.
If it
The
was,
game
if it
did
was The
not
Last
give you
of Us,
what you wanted. The game gave you what they wanted.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. They
No, they
the
100%
game
did.
gave
It
you what
subverted
society
expectations.
wanted.
No.
It subverted expectations.
It
It was one of the most
subverted
detailed
enjoyment,
games
dude.
of all time.
It subverted like
Oh.
enjoyable. Like so, why is Last of Us 1 almost perfection? Why?
Because the story was incredible.
Yes. Why is the story incredible?
Because it subverts expectations. Like,
No, it's
literally.
because of the
Yes.
chemistry between Joel and Ellie.
True.
Period.
Mm.
Like that is
dude.
what makes the game so absolutely fantastic. Now there's so many other things that go into it. When you're playing Last of Us 2,
Sorry. Go ahead.
Jake is
to
so
experience
mad.
an original relationship. So the idea of Joel and Ellie going on this journey, that is a unique relationship in which we haven't seen a lot of games with this style.
Sure.
What they did is kill the main character in the first 20 minutes and
Yep.
then do something completely unoriginal for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Unoriginal. Interesting.
Yes,
What makes it unoriginal for you? What
We
makes it
follow
unoriginal?
some protagonist that is going for revenge.
Sure.
How
I
many
mean, it's a
freaking
revenge
times have
story.
I played that? It was
Right.
like the time, like I played Final Fantasy 15. So it was another like Final Fantasy 15. There were so many pieces that like I remember getting in and you go into that. There's that one chick in the town and you're like, you were like it was a setup wedding, like it was a setup marriage. Like, did you guys play Final Fantasy 15? Right.
No.
And it was like, but they still had this kind of thing because they were childhood friends. And I remember sitting there during the game and going, man, this is such an original approach to like a relationship. I'm really interested in where this is going to go because they're not going to just kill her, right? like they're not gonna do that again, right? They're not gonna do it again, right? Like this is already what has been done. They kill her, and then it's just back to normal gaming, like unoriginal gaming. I get where you're coming from. The Last of Us 2. This is what I always said. I think the way that they told the story, if you take Joel and Ellie and you no longer make them Joel and Ellie, you make them different characters, not Joel and Ellie. It's a much better game.
So standalone story is what
Let
you're
me
saying.
Yes.
let me see.
Yeah.
Also,
is
I
going
should
to
note
piss
it
you
came
off.
out in 2020.
Okay. Well, fuck.
So
Oh, let's
I had
just
to look at it.
Cyberpunk overshadowed.
We gotta.
Cyberpunk overshadowed it. But here's the thing. The Last of Us 1 is a game that builds up Joel and it builds up Ellie. You fall in love with these characters. And you look at them like they're on the higher like level. Like there's an entire base of fans that's like Joel and Ellie are the greatest video game characters of all time, right? 100%. And then Naughty Dog decides, you know what? Fuck Joel.
I know.
And
How
let's
stupid is that,
and
right?
let me no, not how stupid is that. Let me force you to play his fucking killer. That sold
didn't
it.
piss
I
me
thought
off.
that was genius. I thought it was genius.
But
And not only that, because
bro,
the further you get into this, okay, the further you get into playing as Abby, the more you're like, I kind of get it.
No. Like I immediately no. There was no. Let's back up. Like there was no like good deliverance of this. The second it happened, it was so freaking clear what they were trying to do. Because you know what? They already did that in the first game. You get to the end of the first game and you realize, wait a freaking second. Am I the bad guy? Like that hits you and you're like, holy freaking crap. And how original is that? Right. So you take Joel, the most complex character that I've ever played, that I remember I beat The Last of Us 1 and I was pissed. I was like, I can't believe this.
Oh, we lost him.
He froze.
Where'd he go?
up?
Oh,
He's
you
coming.
froze.
He's coming back.
You're
He's
back.
here.
You're back. You're back.
Me? Is it me falling apart?
Yeah, you just froze for a second there.
Yeah, you just froze for a second. Let me see.
Oh, why am I freezing?
Okay, you should be better now.
Looks like
Check
you're
1,
solid
2?
now. Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay. Anyway,
Neil
let me know if it
Druckmann's
goes out
listening,
again. I don't
that's
know why
why.
that's I don't know why that's going through. Maybe my
The Druckmann
router.
is listening. That's why, dude.
Okay. So anyway, what I was saying, you got me real passionate about this. I love Last of Us.
Same.
So you have this very original approach, this very original character whom you play through, and Joel and Ellie, it's such a deep relationship. It's so interesting. And he betrays her in the end. And you've got this absolutely incredible dynamic that is hard to consume, right? But is so ripe with original like story. Sure. And then the second game, when you have the opportunity to do something original, you kill him. You kill the guy that is most original, because there's nobody that is more original than Joel, right? Because he's so unique. Sure. You kill him and you replace him.
Oh, he disappeared again.
He says replace every time. He goes,
Frick!
Okay.
I don't know what's happening. Why is what is happening? Should I leave the call and come back in? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Druckmann's listening. That's why. You keep freezing.
Going? I'm on a hardline connection. I don't know what's happening right now.
It happens to all of us. It's the nature of the stream, man.
it's the risk we take as streamers. Is that what we're saying here?
Yeah. My bad. I don't know what's going on. Just keep telling me when it goes out. I'm hearing you guys, by the way. I'm hearing you tell me that I went out.
That's hilarious.
That's bizarre.
So I have no idea what's going on. Anyway, I just don't think Last of Us 2 was as original as it thinks it was. And the only surprise in that game was killing Joel. And it wasn't a good surprise. It
was a heart-wrenching surprise.
It was, and it wasn't a good one. It wasn't one that I was like, it was a stupid decision. It wasn't.
It was a sour kill. It was a sour kill.
It was a sour kill. How do you mean a sour kill?
And then the second they put you in charge of the other girl, dude, they thought they were so sly, and they weren't. And I think that's why I was so frustrated. Here's the best example. Sorry, not a best example. Have you guys ever watched Nakey Jakey on YouTube?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Check out Nakey Jakey's. He did a 1 hour review of
this review.
Of Last of Us 2, and he nails it. He nails it. I get what they were trying to do. I get that they were trying to be edgy and they were trying to be different, but it's the same thing of all these games that are trying to be something that they're not. And then you have Elden Ring, who knows who they are, and they deliver something that is so true to themselves that
back to Elden Ring.
It's so good.
There's not a question of if Elden Ring is good.
No, but I'm going back to Last of Us 2. It was like the creators of the game had no idea why The Last of Us 1 was good. That's what it felt like.
Interesting.
I think The Last of Us should have stayed as a one-off game and just say that we did it right.
Yes.
Great story, great relationships, and you're gonna hate the ending, and that's what we want you to do. But I guess the thing, you know what? You know how I could almost fix Last of Us 2 is if you didn't kill Joel less than 25% of the way. If you keep the tension going, and you get to the crux, it's 75% dead. Then you have to suffer with that.
Also,
then
quick
you might have
up,
changed it up.
The characters didn't work either. So you're telling me Ellie goes through all of this stuff, kills hundreds of people. Sure. So another thing I would have said is at the end she needed to kill that girl. That
would have been interesting.
Ellie and Abby.
And Abby. She needed to kill Abby. The fact that she didn't kill Abby was so disappointing to me because it didn't commit. At the end of the day, not only did Last of Us 2, in my opinion, do something story-wise that is just really dumb, they also didn't even commit to it. They didn't even commit to the journey of taking her into this brokenness and the only thing that I have really, the game itself, the gameplay is great and it looks great and there's so many things
more
about
Last of Us.
Incredible details.
Yeah. And it was really fun at moments, but I just think they missed so hard on the story, and just breaks my freaking heart, man.
I just disagree. I thought the story was so good. I loved the fucking story in that game. And I understand that people see it as a letdown that Ellie didn't finally just kill Abby. I get it. I 100% get it. But then at the same time, you're growing with Abby as a character as well throughout the game. And like
I think
by the
Abby
end of
was
that
the
game,
only character I slightly enjoyed.
exactly by
I
the end of the
hated
game,
Ellie the
I'm
whole
like,
time. I
no,
never
by the
once
end,
liked Ellie. I didn't enjoy her. I didn't like.
you're
I didn't
not
enjoy
supposed
anything.
to, dude. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Ellie is so
Right,
consumed
like,
by
no,
revenge.
So the feeling that I feel is what they want me to feel, and that feeling is
Exactly.
your game sucks.
No, wrong feeling.
Like that I'm feeling everything they wanted me to feel. They ruined Ellie. Like Ellie, the Ellie of Last of Us 1 and Ellie of Last of Us 2 just don't make sense. Like it doesn't make narrative sense.
There's context that's missing that we need a lot more of.
What's the
And
context that's missing? Like, okay, so let's take Ellie from Last of Us 1 and move on into Last of Us 2. What is missing in that in between period? That you
the building of the hatred. Because if you know what, if you want
because
Joel
she
killed
knows.
off, okay, she knows, but it's like she knows murder. Like there, you need to arch that stress. A good game, it's an obscure game, I think. I don't think many people played this game. It didn't sell well. But a good game that builds the stress to a little crux at the end of the game is a game called Spec Ops: The Line. 10 years
I
old.
played it.
The game
that's
fucks with you. You
100%.
never figure out that answer till the end, and you're sitting there like,
Oh shit, I am.
what that game still has one of the most like iconic scenes in my head. That's the white phosphorus scene. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, you know that pain. That is a continuation of tension. It doesn't punch you. It doesn't Modern Warfare nuke you. You take your arc all the way, and then it just drops it on you. They didn't do that. They Modern Warfare nuked Joel right out of the picture and then said, here's Abby. Love her or hate her. Here she is.
Well, and I think
Let me feel her hate for Joel. Kill him. Then Abby slowly comes in as this next pain train for.
So my main thing as we're talking about all this is again like I want to go back to I think the story of Last of Us 2 is a good story if it's not Joel and Ellie in Last of Us 2.
So you're just okay, so your problem with The Last of Us 2 is you are attached to Joel as a character. You're attached to Joel and Ellie's dynamic.
No. So my problem with Last of Us 2 is that I'm playing that game for their dynamic. That's why their game is good.
Right.
Interesting.
So
But see, that's not even why Last of Us 1 was it for me.
This is Last of Us, Last of Us
Offshoot.
Abbey, Downtown Abbey. Like I don't know. Like I'm going to now approach and be ready to like receive story in a new
Oh, there he goes again. God damn it.
Dang it.
There it is.
There it is.
I don't know what's happening.
It's okay. We're good.
But
But
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but you're still seeing it from the Wanted movie versus comic. That's the thing that I immediately think of anytime I think of like adaptation or whatever.
I see it. I'm seeing it from a perspective of like Joel and Ellie are a unique set of characters that I was really excited to see something unique. And Last of Us 2 isn't unique. Like besides the fact that they killed Joel, like was I expecting that? No. So I'll give them. This is what I'll say. Congratulations. You did something I wasn't expecting, and that's now. And then I'll continue it. That's kill the reason I wanted to play your game. like,
Interesting.
and it's not because so this I can understand that the story of Last of Us is still good, but the reason I'm excited to play Last of Us 2 is for Joel and Ellie, right? Like for Joel
The dynamic.
and Ellie, their dynamic, and they immediately broke that dynamic and did not replace it with anything even remotely as interesting or original. Like there's just nothing. Like
I think I just love the way that they force you to play as Abby. Like I just thought that was fucking smart. And
Yeah,
something that is actually original in my opinion. Like I don't see that in games.
If
I
you
don't
like
see
that
that in games.
uncomfortableness, that's
I
completely
love that
okay.
uncomfortableness. Like I love that, especially when it comes to movies, when it comes to video games. I like the shitty endings, right? Like when things don't go. Funny Games is a fantastic film. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch it. You'll be so upset at the end. But I think that is why I like The Last of Us 2. Because again, it's that same thing. It subverts the expectation. Because I never when I was watching Joel, okay, spoilers, obviously. When I was watching Joel get battered by the golf club. I was like, I hate this character. I can't wait for this character to die. And then when I played as Abby for the first time, I was like, I'm going to make you kill yourself several times, which I did. And
We're so
like
keep going.
200%. I'm going to make you harm yourself. I'm going to make you hate yourself. Like, fuck you. You're a piece of shit and I hate you as a character. And by the end of that game, I'm rooting for Abby over Ellie every goddamn time. And I think that Abby is a more respectable character than Ellie in every single regard. I think that even her mission to go after Joel is respectable because of Joel being Joel. Joel is a polarizing character.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic character, but at the end of the day, he's not a protagonist when you look at his story. And
all
I think
of that is true.
I think that the writers of The Last of Us 2 realize that, and whether you like that or not, they don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to make what they want to make.
So this is the issue. So all of those things, I'm agreeing with you on most all of that. The issue is you and I had a very different experience in this.
Sure.
Joel died and I was sitting there in my disbelief. The millisecond they put Abby in my hands, I immediately knew the whole rest of the game.
Interesting.
The entire game, not one thing surprised me because it was so heavy-handed in their delivery. Like,
interesting.
In the first 30 minutes of the game, I already realized the ending. Like, I already realized where they were going, what they were trying to do. Like, it was so heavy-handed. Like, it was so heavy-handed. It was immediately, oh, hey, look, you have to play as Abby now. We're going to show you why Abby, what she's gone through. Like, I said it on stream. I said the whole freaking thing on stream. This is literally what they're doing. Like, all the nuance and all the uniquities of like Joel being this bad guy, but he's the protagonist and he does what he takes. Like, he does what he can. Like, I didn't know what Joel was going to do. Like, I never freaking knew what Joel was going to do. That's what was so great about Last of Us 1. I'm like, Joel, like, what are you doing? Like, what? And then the second this happened, I was like, oh, this is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to go the rest of the game.
It became predictable.
It did. It became predictable because they were so heavy-handed. I think with all the like the story and their political ideas and what they were trying to get the players to feel was so obvious. Like, it was so obvious. Like, I didn't learn anything because I'm already a guy that doesn't support vengeance. Like, I'm already a guy that is like, vengeance is bad. Like, yes, when I got control of Abby, like, did I run her off the edge? Yes, because it was hilarious. And I'm like, you're a jerk. Like, I ran off the edge.
You're a jerk.
But like, nobody needed to teach me a lesson on vengeance. I was already like, it was already, I'm like, oh, great. So now we're going to get Ellie doing terrible things and she's going to be the bad guy. We're going to get Abby and we're going to learn how great she is and how she has a dog around and a pregnant lady around. Like it was so the opposite of nuanced is my thing. And I much prefer that. I remember that I go back to that last moment of like, at the end, the last thing I was hoping for, I was like, man, if Ellie kills her, at least I'll be surprised once. Like, at least I'll be surprised one more time. And then oh no. Like, I'm like, oh, you freaking kidding me. Like, I saw this 30 hours ago. Like, and I was just disappointed. And interesting. And I'm passionate about it in the way because I was so disappointed, but I can also see how you can still enjoy it. I don't think everybody should hate it. Like, I don't want everybody to hate it, but
I think that's another thing with me is like, so many people like literally just eviscerated the game. Like,
and it deserves to be eviscerated. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everybody needs to hate it, but hate it's like super justified. Like, it is super justified.
I think the problem is they hated it for the wrong reasons. Like, I feel like if you want to hate it, you hate it for the right reason. Right?
No, they didn't hate it for the wrong reasons.
Oh,
like,
dude.
This,
like, when you look at like the harassment,
like, this is
the harassment,
it's their job to create a game,
the transphobia, the homophobia, like those people,
those things, yes. Like,
ruined
I'm not,
it, and I championed it for that reason.
Yeah. Well, again, so I'm not talking about like disrespecting human beings and
Sure.
and like that type of hate, but like the game deserves to be hated because I agree with many of them when they're talking about the game developers didn't think, like, I just don't think they made good decisions. Now,
Interesting.
at the core of it, I think there is a good story like we've talked about, but you brought in very unique and very loved characters and tried to push your idea, agenda, whatever it would be onto that instead of trying to deliver a story that is, I mean, yeah, it's hard to describe and like, because I don't think the game is bad, right? Like,
Sure.
I don't think the game is bad. The gameplay is
Think
great.
it's a good Last of Us game.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great Last of Us game. It's not a good Last of Us 2, right? Like, it's not a good sequel.
It's not a good continuation of the story of Joel and Ellie.
Yes, because it did the story of Joel and Ellie, which is The Last of Us, right? Like, it's not a good continuation of those two. So I justify, like, the way the place I go is like, okay, so just if it's not Joel and Ellie, it's a good game.
Okay. I mean, fair enough.
So
If that's your point of view on it, I will respect that. I still think you're wrong because I still think the game is fantastic. I think it totally subverted expectations and they purposely pissed people off, and that's perfectly fine in my opinion. But
I would have loved some more subverted expectations besides just killing Joel, but
that's fair. I mean, that is valid. That's fair.
enough.
I think I was still so taken aback by the fact that I had to play as Abby that I was like, whole game is fantastic. Fuck it.
yeah.
I think that was really what it was.
So we've trashed a lot of big game giants. What do you guys think about the future of like indie gaming? Do you think that holds like?
I think it's the only future.
Do you think that holds the key to like
I disagree with that.
saving the game
Interesting.
industry?
So
Oh wow!
I wanna hear-
Texas
Jake.
disagreeing. Interesting.
Jake, I want to hear why you say it's the future. Because
Why I say indie games are the future?
correct.
I mean, it's already kind of set. Like it's already right in front of us. Look at how much we've talked about EA. Look at like Ubisoft. Look at the gaming giants. Look at Epic Games. I mean, we have nothing but like negative shit to say about them. At this point, the only people who can do anything right are the indie developers. And there are plenty of them out there who are the worst, terrible, and they release crap. But at the end of the day, it's one game and they fall into obscurity because they're an indie title. Like there's no indie EA, right? Like that's never going to happen because if
I mean,
there's
they
an indie
technically
EA, there
have
would
a
just be fucking
division,
EA.
but
Yeah, but it's not indie, right?
I know.
Like
Well,
if
I
it's
look
if
at-
it's made by anything but the indie developer, it's not. It's
Like,
not indie.
will they ever be as flashy? No, they won't be. Not for a while anyway. But like I look at games, I look
don't
at
know,
games like Phasmophobia and Devour that have this new cult following, and they were indie developed games. There's the same things with like Subnautica
still are.
and The Forest. Like they're still very popular games, and they're holding their popularity versus games like Halo or Battlefield that come out.
Cyberpunk
and
2077.
They're popular for like, you know, they hit their peak and then they drop off immediately. These games are still going and they're still going heavily.
They're still going
Well,
strong, absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's why I kind of fear the indie future. It's not that I don't like indie games. Like since about 2012, I think it was, a lot of my favorite games were indie games. I can remember Papers, Please, Return of the Obra Dinn, Inscription's a good example, Phasmophobia, and the subsequents that follow. What I fear of the indie like takeover, or lack of a better term, is you do get a ton of indie projects that go alpha or beta early access and then disappears.
Yeah.
And
I mean, how many?
well, the only problem I have with that is that people who love that concept, no one's going to pick it up.
Right.
You know, if the reason why, unfortunately, big developers like, you know, Ubisoft, Square Enix, I'm not mentioning EA because they're a whole beast of their own, but those games
Epic
repeatedly
Games.
make the same game is because whether we like it or not, people like going back to it. I've been a fan of the Far Cry series, and they've pretty much copy paste different locations, slightly plot line change. I still love that series enough that I
Ubisoft
would buy it.
games are the same. Like
I
if,
don't
if a new
disagree.
Ubisoft game comes out, I know what it is. I need to go climb a tower. I need to find the area. I need to do the objectives.
guys see
and then I
what-
need to be bored.
Did you see what Ubisoft said? They were like pissed at Elden Ring for being popular.
No,
No, I didn't see that.
Ubisoft's like
Ubisoft sent out like a tweet or something, and they were really pissed that people were giving the game 10 out of 10 because they complained that the UI was terrible in Elden Ring, and then everybody, like the whole community, responded with like images of if Elden Ring was made by Ubisoft. Like, it was just the most Ubisoft, like the map, everything, dots everywhere, like, and people were like, just shut up. Like,
I don't remember the last time I was actually excited for an Ubisoft game.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that you should be. What I'm saying is that they still come out with the product that you expect. With indie, you're going to have, you know, for every Phasmophobia, how many games can you look through Steam right now? There are flaming piles.
Oh, there's flaming piles of shit.
I was gonna
in
say at
every
this point,
respect.
me and Jake have played hundreds. I just played a video game about being stalked by a duck.
Stalked by a duck. Yeah, no,
So-
and I mean
That's
that
right.
has its own entertainment value right there, right? But
Exclamation point, YouTube.
I think the thing about indie games versus AAA, let's say,
Right.
is one. I'm just reading what STI said. They do love their work a lot more
They do.
than AAA developers do.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you'll never convince me otherwise.
Well, it's not to
No
say
one's
that
going
the
to convince
artists
you of that.
Well,
No
and
one's
it's-
trying to.
Yeah, it's not to say that the artists don't care. It's that the final overhead does not.
There's nobody above them to tell them like they
right.
can't do
There
that.
is no corporate overhead to say, you know what? Don't like that. Do this.
Look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you look at Marvel movies prior to 2008, they're not very good.
No.
But when Marvel was able to take the reins, they blew up. I think they're fantastic and they're great films, right?
Right.
I think I had the same thing with indie developers until AAA developers get their heads out of their asses. I think that
I'm
indie
just
is
wondering when
really
that's
the
gonna
only
be,
safe
because
spot.
I
It
can't-
won't.
Yeah, I
They
can't
won't.
remember
Well,
in the future or in the past a game that's come out that was
After Battlefront, I thought
not
EA
fun.
had to turn a new leaf. I thought they had to, but they just wouldn't, and they never will.
indie games are going to be indie games. They're going to be the same as they have been. And they're always going to be the same. Like, indie games are the foundation of the gaming industry because like this is how all big companies start. Like,
Yeah.
right.
somebody with passion makes a game, has an idea, and then continues forward. I would say what is great about the indie industry now is that there is just so much more support, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you look at how cool is Steam? How cool is it that so many absolutely garbage games are available? And then
Absolutely,
when
dude.
somebody finds a good one, everybody hears about it because everybody wants to
everybody
play
blows
it. You know, I'm a roguelike player, so I play a ton of roguelites.
hell
and
yeah.
roguelites are generally indie games because they're from smaller
Yeah.
studios.
Almost
And-
exclusively.
yeah, and they're, I mean, we're just talking absolutely dynamite games. Hades, for an example.
I love Hades.
Hades was also released in 2020, was in the running for I think it was 2020, right?
That was 2020, yes.
Because they had Game of the Year opportunities
Yes,
for it.
yes. And it was one of the games, not the game I gave Game of the Year over Last of Us 2. That was Ghost of Tsushima. But
Ghost of Tsushima is good too.
Hades is like, I mean, it is top notch. Like, it's a roguelike with story and all this stuff. But
200%
but it goes
indie.
back to it goes back to just like the idea of indie games are always going to be there. They're always going to be this foundation, and they're always going to be, you know, the best of the best are going to get picked up by bigger studios, and like that's always going to happen. But like I don't they are the future of the gaming industry, but the future of the gaming industry is still going to be AAA studios. It's always going to be, because that's how money works and that's how
Right.
things
That's where
work.
it's money.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So the bigger thing is like, how is the gaming industry, like what's going to happen, you know, after, you know, all these games come out? Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen after,
Right.
you know, because we're not the only four dudes talking about how we're frustrated about how games are
course.
being released, right?
No.
Like, there's so
Yeah.
many people. And I think that's what creates the space for an Elden Ring to pop off, because so many people are looking for something different, and they delivered it completed. And it's my hope that other companies are going to look at that and say, hey, we can actually be passionate and original and risky, and it might work out. You know what I mean?
And like, for all intents and purposes, I look at From Software as an indie developer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, they started off indie, and for the most part, they created their own,
and they've never strayed.
Yeah,
I don't know how to feel about calling them indie though, because they're not indie anymore.
They were
indie.
They
were.
Oh yeah,
and even despite so even them not being indie, they have a small team.
Yeah, they don't have a huge team.
They have a very small team. Like, they are not a large. They're not an EA where they've got I mean, I don't even know what the development team looks like, but I'm pretty darn sure it is not large.
It's not, and that's probably why they're able to keep it together. But even from that standpoint, when I say I look at From Software as an indie, obviously they're a huge developer, right? Their games are AAA quality games, fantastic, not even a question.
Yeah,
I look at their mindset as an indie developer, and I think of indie developers from a mindset. Like, there's nobody telling From Software you can't do that. Like, From Software,
there's a lot of people.
Well,
there's a lot of but there's a ton of people saying, "Hey, you can't do that." But there's enough masochists out here where we're going to play it anyway. So.
Exactly. I think that's my point, though. Like, they release what they want to release, just as an indie developer does, right? And even if the indie developer releases a pile of shit, I would rather support them than Ubisoft at this point, because I mean, I'm not even talking about personal things or scandals or whatever throughout these gaming companies. God, we won't even get into that because we literally don't have time. But I think indie development should be a mindset that is more accepted. I think if like, for instance, I think God of War, the new one, is fantastic. And I think that there wasn't a lot that was pushed back against when it came to Corey. Oh my God, what the fuck is his name? Corey, I want to say Balrog, but that's Lord of the Rings. Anyway, but Corey, the dad, like the lead dude at God of War, got to make God of War the way he wanted to make God of War.
Right.
And I think that if we can just let people make things the way that they ought to be made, then that, to me, is an indie mindset, and it becomes a more indie forward thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm so sorry.
Yes.
So, you know what game's very unique, like very similar to God of War?
What?
Oh no.
Last of Us.
Oh God.
Oh God.
I just want you to imagine God of War 2. They immediately kill Kratos. like it's just so stupid. I'm sorry. All right.
So something interesting.
There, God of War 3 already did that, and it was a terrible fucking ending.
I was waiting for something about Kratos' boy to die. I'm like, Dad of War, wait for the son to die.
It's related because you have that father-son, father-daughter same mechanic, right?
I mean, they obviously took heavy influence from The Last of Us.
By the way, God of War, just side note, absolutely fantastic. We talked about earlier the new God of War coming out. It's being delivered on old consoles as well. I'm not as worried about it, right? Like, because they've already delivered a game on the platform.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not as worried about that, but I am absolutely mega excited for
Oh hell yeah.
For sure.
So From Software currently has 332 employees, so it's not small by any means. I'd say.
Dude, that's employees for the company, like the entire company.
That is a tiny
but they're
company.
mentioning that most of that is towards development.
That is a tiny company.
They're pretty much a development heavy company. Like, they pretty much admit it. It's not about advertising or anything. It's about the development.
Which is fine. That's still a super small company.
Yeah, that's got to be. I mean, how many people? Gearbox. Like, let's get some comparison. Like, throw up another big game.
Well, the one that I thought of, the one that I was going to talk to, because there's two game companies that I can think of that, you know, they may have their jank or they may not be, you know, the most popular thing, but two game companies that are considered, I'd say, AAA still, that don't really fuck up their shit much, are Rockstar and Bungie.
Okay.
Those two put their, and yes, I know, like, Red Dead 2 had their bullshit with the glitches. When you have a game that
Red Dead Destiny, dude, what the fuck?
That's tough for me because Red Dead. So Rockstar pisses me off because they haven't like been original in how they like deliver story in forever. Like, I remember old school Grand Theft Auto, like getting to actually do a mission the way I wanted to So like all I remember about Red Dead 2, it was a great game. It was really fun, but all I remember is like having the freedom to do whatever I wanted, and then all of a sudden being in this absolutely extremely narrow-minded shoot
Box.
this guy and this guy in this order. Like there was no freedom, and it was such a jarring break of I have freedom now. I literally have no freedom at all.
Right.
Like, but they've been doing that. Like they've still been doing that for years. So. I don't want to say that they're bad,
they make
but
what they want to make.
It's like, oh, come on, man.
I mean, I'm looking at it from the perspective that they make what they want to make. Like you
Yeah.
watch it, and I don't think that they made any sacrifices. They made decisions that don't make you happy, and I understand that, and I respect that.
They made business decisions that don't make me happy.
Yeah.
Like they made employee
But
decisions
even-
that don't make me happy.
I heard Jake mention Destiny 2, but I'd almost say that is a prime example of how they keep feeding their players.
Are you talking
Like-
about Bungie?
Yes, Bungie.
I'm talking about the first Destiny and how it was a pile of shit.
I didn't
Like,
enjoy Destiny
when that
at
game
all.
came out, I was so underwhelmed. It was like when I played Brink for the first time. I was like, "What the fuck is
Oh,
this?"
dude, I remember. So I thought Brink was going to be so fun.
Dude, me too.
I
was so excited for that game.
I remember getting so excited for that game. I have fond memories of Destiny 1 because I
have fond
played it in
memories
college. Like
After
Mhm.
they
I
released
played it in
updates.
college with some friends. I had a great little group, and we went on raids and got cool weapons, and it was just like a chill game I'd play on weekend nights, you know, eating a pizza and relaxing. But
Sure.
Bungie has never like impressed me like they did when they were Bungie. Like
When
Absolutely.
they were like Microsoft Bungie.
when they were
When they were Halo.
Halo.
Bungie.
Like
Yeah.
when they
That's
created
what it
one of
is.
the most iconic video games of all time, like in a world like even to this day, man, like you still like and they're milking it for everything they got, but just the character that they created, this Master Chief, like he's so big, like, you know, he's so
He's larger than life, dude. He's Doom guy.
Yes, he is. And he really is. And you know,
That's
I
true.
talked about it when I played Halo Infinite. Like, say what you want about it, but like I thought Halo Infinite was such a refreshing game to play
It was.
because you're playing a hero.
Yep.
Like
Mhm.
you are playing a hero, and there is nothing that is going to prevent this hero from being a hero. Now, I have my complaints. I
There's no
really
moral
don't
gray
think
areas.
I don't think they did a great job of really delivering his humanity. I could talk
He
way too
wasn't
long
supposed
about.
to have humanity.
He is. It's Cortana. That's why you
Yeah.
don't freaking remove Cortana from Halo.
Right.
Anyway,
That's true.
God,
Well,
we can't go
God.
down that line.
We're gonna have to have you on for another
I will-
episode at this point.
I will talk for way too long about it. I'm very upset about removing Cortana. Anyway, if you're gonna do it in Halo 5. If you're gonna not get rid of her in Halo 5, you better not freaking half-ass the getting rid of her in Halo Infinite. Anyway, sorry, we can't go there. So all of that aside, at the end of the day, it was refreshing to play
Mhm.
there's so many games that are subverting expectations and trying to be edgy and gray and this and that, and like every
What is
game's
a
trying to
hero?
do it. Literally every game's trying to do it, and it was nice to just like all of a sudden it was like Halo was larger than just Halo Infinite, because
yeah.
you're sitting there and you're like, oh, how is Master Chief going to survive in this new world of gaming? And there he is, like Master Chief. Like he's like, because I'm gonna freaking get my Spidey
'Cause I'm
Chief
Master
on, and he's
fucking
gonna
Chief,
become
dude.
Spider-Man, and he's gonna like
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
what I loved about
Rebel
it.
Hook.
Yes.
It felt like what it honestly it felt like it just completely like threw 5 away, and then went right back to the same
Which
sort of
should
like
have.
loving feeling that 3 had.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's what did it for me. Is like I really enjoyed playing the campaign of it because
Yeah.
it was there.
And I have never played a game in my life that was both original, like not original, that was both true to old Halo while also being completely and utterly new.
Mhm.
Like
yeah,
I don't think I've ever played a game that so like hit that so well. I felt the entire time I played that game like I was playing Halo,
Mhm.
but then I had to pause at some moments and go, I just Spider Chiefed my way across an entire, like I just I literally am Spider-Man. Like, how does this feel like Halo? It still felt like Halo, and I just thought that was very impressive.
It was
Spider
great.
Chief.
Dude,
I
It
fucking
was so
love
good.
it.
It was.
I
so good.
still need to run through the campaign. So we'll ignore that I just said that, but we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here,
We
folks.
are actually. This is the longest episode I think we've ever
The
done.
longest episode we've ever done. 250%.
And
We
barely
talked
needs
about-
editing.
We talked about
wow.
masterpieces. We talked about The Last of Us 2.
I talked about Elden Ring.
We talked about masterpieces.
That tiny game.
Masterpiece.
Yes.
Masterpiece
Absolutely.
and a lot of hate for everything else out there. But you know what? You know what's kind
Last
of
thing
cool
about Elden Ring, though. Last thing about
Okay.
Elden Ring.
There's no such thing as a last thing.
What's one bad thing about Elden Ring?
Nothing.
That it's Elden Ring.
I just want that to be, like,
Tex has
If
never
we-
played a Souls-like, so
like
See, those games have no interest to me at all. I'm the oddball in there. And the reason why is because like
what's
I
a bad thing about Elden Ring?
yeah, is like, because I'm ready. Again, I'm not ready to ship it and deliver it, but I'm playing with greatest game of all time.
could
like,
somebody
I'm
complain that
playing
it
with
got
it.
too easy? Could that be an issue to somebody?
It
No.
doesn't get too easy. It's you decide on how to
Absolutely
play
not.
it. Like,
No, I'm-
watch me
I'm
stream
asking
the
that
game.
honestly.
It's
I'm
not
asking that
freaking-
honestly.
I have everything one shots me. Everything, because I have no
Yeah.
vigor. Like you get to do whatever you want.
It's a true RPG. You
Mm-hmm.
are the character and who you want to be. You can be OP and start as a samurai, which is fine.
Totally. And I think
And-
that's so beautiful. Like that
Yes.
they allow the player base to do whatever they
Dude,
want.
the only bad thing I had, I guess, is all just technical like hiccups.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that was
Like
it.
at the start, I had
was
some
it.
frame issues, like
Had a lot of
which I hear that the PlayStation didn't have, but then it got figured out, and I haven't had any
They
issues
updated it
since.
in like a week.
Yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, when they did their first patch, I love it. Like they delivered a patch, and what did they do? Like in the patch notes, they didn't even say anything. They added a new area of the map and like a new NPC and a new quest, and it's like, yes, dude.
It's such a
like,
flex, dude.
Is it like they just added to the game? They're like, oh yeah, here you go. Here's a new NPC.
Oh yeah, there was one thing you didn't like here. Let me just fix that by giving you more.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the game runs perfectly now.
Oh yeah, shoot, man.
Well, and I think, yeah, I
Love
mean,
that
I can't think of it. I mean, Tex hasn't played it. I feel like Matt hasn't played it, so I
Not
don't
allowed
know.
to yet.
No, not till you finish Dark Souls 3.
Well, and I think that one thing that we do also have to recognize is that the Dark Souls like games, as beautiful as they are, I will respect that is a genre that really changed, gaming from 2011 to today. It keeps changing it. I think it has to be said that it still falls into a case where it's not the most, it might be the most watched. I don't think that's ever going to be one of the most picked up games. That's not going to be one that everyone's got a copy of. You got to love what you're about to walk into.
I
Right.
think
Oh,
everybody
I
should
don't-
play it.
I don't. Yeah,
I want to.
think
I do
disagree,
want to.
Actually,
I find
this is
myself
the first
enjoying.
Souls game
Yeah.
that
I don't-
everyone should play.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. I don't think everybody needs to play Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls 1.
Or Sekiro.
Like in Sekiro, like Sekiro, I have, that's a whole other conversation. I think it's a good game. It frustrates me because you don't have the freedom to play the game in the way that you do in the other ones. But it's got a great lore. It's got a great, setting, all that stuff. Elden Ring is perfect. Like it is like what an RPG is. Like
Should
it
be.
is the definition of a role-playing video game. Like
The world building
has
is
everything.
the best it's ever been. The
Mhm.
story is the best it's ever been.
and there's multiple
The
stories.
gameplay.
There's stories everywhere. There's endings
Yes.
everywhere. There's hidden secrets. We haven't even figured out all the things in the game yet. Like
The fact that
That's-
300 plus hours is like still just cracking
it's just
into it.
so crazy. It's just so
and,
impressive.
and the thing about Elden Ring as a whole, again, a big problem people have with Souls games is the story and how hard it is to get into, and Elden Ring fixes that in every facet.
Yeah.
And if there's any game that everyone should play, I think it is Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And if you
And
play it wrong, you might get pissed off.
Because it's
But
also the reality of realizing that it's hard to get into, and that's what it's trying to be.
Yes.
Like that's what you have to realize is like hard to get into is their goal. Like
yeah, From Software built an empire on hard to get into, and they're
because
like,
they want
this is the one.
They have to break down your video game walls because you've played Ubisoft games and all of these games for so long. They have to break those walls down. They have to. Like, and the only way to do that is by, well, I mean, I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but the way that they do that is by saying, this is our game. It's unlike anything you've played. These are our controls. Like, all you have to do is don't give up.
Yep.
If you step into that game and you say, I won't give up, you will experience the best feelings like that video games can offer.
I've always actually said that like the Dark Souls beating a boss is the greatest experience in gaming because there's nothing more infuriating than going through it 30 times.
I will fully agree with that. I will fully agree with that.
And I feel like if you don't give yourself the opportunity to feel that, you're just missing out.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's this incredible opportunity to feel like euphoric. Literally, like it's the greatest fucking feeling a video game can offer.
From a freaking video game, from a form of entertainment.
And it's like, literally, you're just like, I am like the greatest of all time because I did.
And the community is so sick too. Like, I mean, yes, are there stupid butthole chads that are like, dude, you're not cool enough because this, but that's human beings.
Easy,
and you're going to have that anywhere. But like, how cool is it that within the mechanics of the game, there's messages that people are leaving and where people died, and you're experiencing this game as other people experience this game. That feeling is unlike anything. It's just
most of those messages go troll messages.
But so many of them are helpful.
So many are useful.
Are there troll messages? Absolutely, and that's what makes it so fun. Like,
and you can downvote them, or you can choose how you want to exist in the world.
That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that was part of it.
See,
guys.
I'll say this to that one statement.
Thoughts.
Number one, I do respect that Elden Ring's like one of the biggest games this year. It probably
of all time.
It's gonna get game of the year.
It's getting a game of the year.
Unless how they I don't know how they're gonna read into God of War, because normally that one takes it.
God of War, even if it delivers a perfect game, will not be as good as Elden Ring.
I will probably believe that one's going to get more praise, and it's not because it's deserve it. I just can imagine that's what's going to happen. But here's the one thing that I will say as to why probably the From Software games have kept me away. When I go to sit down to play video games, I'm going for escapism and to relax. And I'm not saying this is everybody. This is me personally.
Yep.
Sure.
I totally understand the love that you guys have for it. And seeing this, I think everyone feels that love. For me, I want to be able to kind of relax and walk through a story, not at the pace of getting slammed into the ground, but like, okay, this is a pace. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, there's nothing difficult. Probably the same shit I've played a million times. Yeah. It's that ease of like, okay, I'm just walking through. I can breathe now.
Yeah, let me in on this.
As opposed to dying.
Okay, so I'm going to blow your mind here, Tess. I'm going to blow your mind.
I'll be curious.
I'm going to assume here, Jake, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Jake and I are the exact same as you before we played Elden Ring. Like, not Elden Ring, before we played Dark Souls.
Yes.
Like,
I think the From Software games, yeah.
Yes, like that feeling of I don't want to play it because that's how I want to play games. What you just said is who I was. 100%.
Yes. 2,000,000%.
Every single human being that has ever played it has said exactly what you said
fuck
there.
Dark Souls.
I hate to say that I am falling in love with it.
Like
I totally get that.
And I tried it in text. No. Like, I need you to understand. Like, I know the exact emotion that you're talking about, and I played it and hated it still. And then I realized that there was something else going on, and that there was a wall that I had to break through to experience something unlike anything in gaming. And once you break through that wall, you will be introduced into something that is irreparable. Frick, screw words. It's 1:00. I'm an old man. I want to go to bed.
You grow as a gamer.
You do. And I'm not forcing you, Tex. You don't have to play it. I will think nothing less of you if you decide not to play it.
I totally get it.
But what I want you to know is there's going to be a day where in your brain, everybody's going to, now it's just going to be Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is going to be talked about. It's not going to be Dark Souls. It's going to be Elden Ring. And they're going to keep talking about it. They're going to keep talking about it. There is a day in which you're going to play it, And when that day comes in a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, and then you
Hopefully
realize
sooner.
how great this game is, I want you to refer back to here and just say, man, good on you, dude. I'm so glad you love the game. Like, that's me talking to you in the future, because I know you're going to say that. Like, dude, I'm glad you love the game, man.
I mean, listen, Matt, when we first played Dark Souls, he loathed the experience. He didn't even dislike it. He
I
loathed
hated
it.
every second.
Yeah,
He
I hated it.
hated
I'm
it.
with you. I did the freaking same thing.
Dude,
I told you guys that story, right?
yeah, you did. And and there's been no other video games in my entire life that I've thrown a controller onto a
I
couch
still hate it.
and it
at
bounces.
times. Like, I still get freaking pissed.
And it bounces and it hits in the closet. And then there's just the really weird conversation that I have to have within myself.
Yeah.
Like, grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
And but nothing brings it out of you like that, right?
Nothing.
And
Because that's what they're trying to do.
exactly, you when you realize the proof of concept brought forth by From Software, you have nothing but respect for it. And there's you literally will grow as a gamer. You will actively seek out more challenging games, and you will open your eyes to an entire genre, an entire subset of games that you never thought you'd play.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like Hollow Knight is another great example of a game that, like, it's infuriating. It drives me up the goddamn wall, but it's what made me fall in love with, I'm going to say, 2D
roguelikes.
side scrollers.
I never mind Hollow Knight though. That game doesn't bother me.
Whoa. How far into Hollow Knight have you got? Okay, we can't do this. Guys, it's 11:02.
We can have this argument tomorrow, Jake. We can have this argument tomorrow.
We're going to have this argument. We're going to have you back on, Fabes, at this point.
always
There's
down.
going to be a part two. There's got to be. This is like a 4-hour episode, easy.
I'm always down when Elden Ring gets Game of the Year.
All right.
Dude, hell yeah, we'll bring it back on.
It's getting
I will say it. If God of War comes out early enough, I'm telling you it will win. And I'm not saying it deserves to win. I'm saying it will. It is never
have to look
lost.
at what the community. I have to look at. So the first month, I avoided everything Elden Ring, because I played it through completely blind with zero anything. So I actually don't know where the world of Elden Ring is, but like what people think about the game. I'm kind of biased in my opinion, because I'm literally sitting here and I can't find fault with it. And it
Pretty much
actually feels
universally
like
loved.
not only the best game of all time, but also like the best game for now. Like, with all the stuff we talked about
The
tonight,
game we needed.
like the game we needed, right? That is exactly it. It's the game we needed, but it's also the game that works beautifully in the Twitch era. Like, it is the game that is extraordinarily entertaining. What's more entertaining to watch, God of War or Elden Ring? It's Elden Ring a million times over. And even when God of War comes out, like, once you watch it once, then it's no longer entertaining. Elden Ring is literally entertaining
No matter what.
Yeah, but that's not a game of the year. That's a streaming game of the year or something.
No,
No.
literally game. Okay, so I said this on stream, and I'll say this again. The conversation of it being game of the year is not the conversation to have. I don't believe that is the conversation. It's literally, is this the greatest game of all time or not? Like, that's the conversation that needs to be had, not game of the year. If it doesn't get game of the year, we need to have another well, the only way if it doesn't get game of the year, it's either God of War Ragnarok is just going to be so freaking good. And I'm down for it to be perfect. I'm down for it to fight for greatest game of all time if it is perfect, because I love God of War. So down. So that, or two, we need to have the conversation of why the gaming industry has been destroyed.
Yeah, why the gaming industry is
Why is
absolutely
everything
it's
broken?
actually
all
over.
over.
It's actually over now. Like, there's no coming back from this.
Yeah,
Well,
because
and
if
God
From
of
Software
War-
doesn't get it, if From Software, who, like you said, Jake, is like this slightly like indie mindset, right? Like, if they don't get it, nobody ever will. And
failed.
money is just like ruined the gaming industry.
Well, this is the same thing I say with like a lot of awards, is that it's not about the best out there. God of War needs to be judged when it comes out, and to say if it even comes out this year or gets delayed. Who knows?
It's gonna get delayed. We all know.
I have a suspicion it will, which maybe they do it for their own purposes.
I'll say this. I don't know if you guys heard me earlier. So I have a buddy on stream who play tested it, who played the whole God of War Ragnarok
All right,
already.
noobs, get off already.
So, he said it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And obviously a bunch of stuff that they had to work on, but the fact that he could play through the whole story already
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay, like
That's cool.
So
That'd be a
that's
fun
pretty good
experience.
along there. That's
we're
good
on
to
track
know.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but I mean, it's also, you know, that's a good experience. But
Yeah.
how many times are you going to go back through it? How many
it's
how many
very
builds
true.
are you going to have in God of
And
War?
that's why I go back, Jake. I'm with you. Like, if
Yeah.
God of War is perfect, it's still not as good as Elden
It's
Ring.
never going to be Elden Ring.
And I will sing the praises of God of War because I love God of War and I want it to be perfect. Because again, I'm a huge father-son, father-daughter relate. That's a heartstring for me all day long. Like I will play those games again and again and again. But once I beat it once, am I going to go back and replay it? No. Like,
No.
because it's not like Elden Ring. It's not like these Dark Souls games where replaying, bro. There's 2 games in my entire life. This is the last thing I'll say. 2 games in my entire life that I beat and then immediately started another playthrough. And that was Mass Effect 1, the first time I ever played it. I beat it and was like, holy crap, there's story. There's more story. There's other people. There's
so
other
much
ways to
more to be
play.
found.
Like, I can be bad. I can be whatever I want to be. Like, I restarted immediately. Elden Ring. I spent 200 and something hours on my first playthrough. Then immediately was like, okay, let's go again.
Jumping right back in.
Let's go again, because I missed the Ronnie storyline. I missed the freaking Nafali Lu storyline. I missed all, like, I missed everything. Yet I had yeah.
I'll leave you with this.
Oh God,
Fabes.
we have to stop leaving everybody with this.
Last of Us Part 2 won Game of the Year.
I know it did.
And it was well deserved. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody.
I'll leave you
Babes,
with
thank you
this.
so much.
I'll leave you with this.
Yes! Guest gets the last word.
I'll
Okay,
leave
that's
you
good,
with
the last
this.
word.
Yes.
I thought he froze again, to be honest. And I saw him blink.
I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
There you go. There it is. Yes,
I'm
indeed.
subverting
Yes.
expectations.
That was
Like The
subverting
Last of
Game
Us
of the Year.
2.
Game of the year.
Well, it did for some people.
Game of the year. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Fabes, thank you so much for being here. That was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of A Meeting of the Messonic Minds. Fabernator, Tex, thank you so much for being here. Matt, you have to be here, so whatever, fuck off. Don't forget
That's my job.
to follow us on all the things. Make sure you go follow Fabernator on all of his things. Fabernator, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Fabernator. You can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Fabernator, Instagram, everything Fabernator.
Yeah,
Come hang out. Playing Elden Ring, just about to finish it up. I got to figure out what else to play. I've put almost 300 hours into it. I don't know what I'm going to play next. So
Just start a new-
Shoot, we should have
start
talked
a new
about
build.
that. Frick, I need some help deciding on what I'm going to do next. Dang it.
Indie games. Anyway, folks, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, night, evening, whatever happens to be that you're having, kindly viewer, and well.
Goodbye.